Listen calmly, but do not treat this casually. June 9th, June 10th, and June 11th are being marked for a reason. Not because you should panic, not because you should live in fear, not because every person who hears these dates should immediately assume something terrible is coming, but because for some of you, these dates are connected to a spiritual checkpoint that has already begun pressing on your heart. You have felt it. You may not have had the words for it, but you have felt the weight of something changing around you. Maybe your sleep has been different. Maybe your dreams have been louder. Maybe your emotions have been moving in waves you cannot fully explain. Maybe certain people, places, habits, conversations, or memories suddenly feel heavier than they used to feel. Maybe you have been walking through ordinary moments, doing normal things, and still feeling this strange pull inside, like something in you is saying, "Pay attention, this is not a regular season." That pull is not something you should ignore, because when God is trying to get the attention of a chosen one, He does not always begin with thunder. Sometimes He begins with pressure. Sometimes He begins with discomfort. Sometimes He begins with a closed door. Sometimes He begins with a repeated thought that will not leave you alone. Sometimes He allows your peace to be interrupted around the very thing you keep trying to convince yourself is harmless. And sometimes He marks a small window of time so that you will stop drifting and start listening. June 9th, June 10th, June 11th. These are not dates to worship. These are not dates to turn into superstition. The power is not in the calendar. The power is in the God who can use any moment to wake you up, redirect you, protect you, and prepare you for what is next. But chosen one, when a date keeps coming back to your awareness, when a word keeps repeating in your spirit, when a warning keeps rising through your body, when your inner world begins to feel like it is standing at the edge of a door, wisdom says, do not dismiss it too quickly. This message is not here to frighten you. It is here to help you discern, because there is a difference between fear and warning. Fear confuses you. Warning focuses you. Fear makes you run in circles. Warning tells you where to stand. Fear takes away your peace. Warning protects your peace before something can touch it. And that is what this message is about. Protection. There is something God has been protecting inside you. There is a calling He has been forming. There is a sensitivity He has been sharpening. There is a door He has been preparing. There is a version of you He has been building through delays, disappointments, silence, rejection, and seasons where you felt misunderstood by almost everyone around you. And the reason the warning feels urgent is because you are no longer in a season where you can carry everything forward. Some things must be corrected. Some things must be separated. Some things must be obeyed. June 9th is connected to correction. June 10th is connected to separation. June 11th is connected to instruction. And if you stay with this message until the end, you are going to understand what those three movements mean in your life. How to recognize the signs that God has already been placing around you, what the real cost of ignoring the warning is, why certain people and patterns may be resurfacing right now, and how to respond without panic, without confusion, and without forcing what God has not released. You will also receive a simple 3-day way to examine your spirit, protect your peace, and listen for the next step without making decisions out of fear. So do not rush through this. Do not treat this like background noise. Let your attention become sacred for a moment. You do not have to stop your life. You do not have to perform anything dramatic. Just allow the deepest part of you to become honest, because the part of you that is tired of confusion already knows this is not random. The part of you that has been asking God for clarity already knows something is being answered. The part of you that has been feeling like a door is near already knows that something is shifting. And the first thing you need to understand is this. Before God moves a chosen one into a new season, He often allows them to feel the weight of what cannot enter with them. That is why the pressure has felt so personal. That is why the discomfort has not been easy to explain. That is why certain things that used to feel normal now feel wrong. That is why certain people who once felt familiar now feel draining. That is why certain rooms you used to fit in now feel too small for your spirit. That is why certain habits you once excused now feel like quiet chains. You are not becoming difficult. You are becoming discerning. You are not losing interest in life. You are losing tolerance for what was slowly pulling you away from your assignment. You are not imagining the shift. You are becoming sensitive enough to recognize it before it becomes visible. This is one of the first signs that these dates may be speaking to your season. Your body begins to feel what your mind has not fully understood yet. You may feel tired in a way that sleep does not completely fix. Not just physically tired, not just busy, not just needing a break, but tired in the bones, tired in the spirit, tired from carrying conversations that drain you, responsibilities that were never yours, emotional weight that other people left at your door, and expectations that have kept you performing while your own soul has been asking for stillness. And when that kind of tiredness rises before a spiritual threshold, it is not always a sign that something is wrong with you. Sometimes it is a sign that something in you is processing the weight of transition. You are standing between what was and what is next, and the in-between place can feel heavy. It can feel like pressure. It can feel like sadness without a clear reason. It can feel like your body is slower, your emotions are closer to the surface, and your mind is trying to solve something your spirit is still waiting to receive. Do not shame yourself for that. Do not immediately assume you are failing. There are times when God allows you to feel the heaviness of an old season, so you will stop calling it home. There are times when He lets the old thing become uncomfortable, because comfort would keep you there too long. There are times when He lets your peace disappear around something, so you will stop defending what He is trying to expose. And this is why June 9th matters, because June 9th is connected to the warning. The warning often begins as discomfort. The warning often begins as a repeated check in your spirit. The warning often begins as a strange lack of peace around something you were ready to accept. The warning often begins as a quiet no inside you, even when everything outside you is telling you yes. But before we go deeper into June 9th, you need to recognize the signs that may have already been happening before these dates arrived. The first sign is an unexplained heaviness. You wake up and your body is moving, but your spirit feels like it has been carrying something all night. You go through the day and nothing dramatic has happened, but there is a weight sitting in the background. You may even try to distract yourself. You scroll, you talk, you work, you clean, you listen to something, you keep yourself busy. But the weight does not leave, because the weight is not asking to be entertained. It is asking to be understood. Chosen one. There are seasons when heaviness is not a punishment. It is a signal. It is your inner world saying, something needs attention, something needs surrender, something needs correction before it becomes consequence. The second sign is that your dreams have become louder. Maybe they are not always clear. Maybe you do not wake up with a perfect interpretation, but you wake up with a feeling, a house, a road, a storm, a door, an old friend, a family member, a child, a vehicle, a room you do not recognize but somehow feels familiar, a place from your past, a person you thought you were finished thinking about. Dreams can carry many meanings, and you should not force every image into a message. But when a dream repeats, when the emotion repeats, when the same kind of scene keeps returning, when you wake up with the same pressure in your spirit, pay attention. Sometimes God uses the night to reveal what the noise of the day has been covering. Sometimes your dreams show you the emotional truth of a situation before your waking mind is ready to admit it. Sometimes the dream is not about the person you saw. It is about the pattern connected to them. Sometimes the dream is not about the house. It is about the old version of you that still lives there. Sometimes the dream is not about the storm. It is about the cleansing that must happen before peace can return. And if your dreams have intensified around this window, do not panic. Become attentive. There is a difference. The third sign is repeating numbers, repeated dates, repeated phrases, or repeated confirmations. Maybe you keep seeing 9, 10, 11. Maybe you keep seeing 111. Maybe conversations around you keep repeating the same word. Maybe a message, a song, a sentence, or a memory appears at the exact moment you are asking for direction. Do not turn signs into idols. Do not chase signs more than you seek God. But also do not become so cynical that you ignore the way God may be using ordinary things to arrest your attention. A sign is not meant to replace wisdom. A sign is meant to make you pause. It is meant to bring you back to attention. It is meant to say, look again, listen again, pray again, pay attention again. Because sometimes the sign is not the answer. It is the knock on the door. The fourth sign is emotional waves that seem to come without a clear trigger. One moment, you feel peaceful. Then suddenly you feel grief. Then suddenly you feel hope. Then suddenly you feel a desire to withdraw. Then suddenly you feel the urge to reach for something old, something familiar, something that once comforted you, but also once kept you stuck. Chosen one. Emotional waves are not always random. Sometimes they reveal what has been buried. Sometimes they reveal the grief attached to obedience. Sometimes they reveal the part of you that knows you are about to let something go. Sometimes they reveal the fear of becoming someone your old life cannot control anymore. You may be feeling the emotional cost of separation before the separation becomes visible. You may be grieving something your spirit already knows God is about to remove. And that is why you must be gentle with yourself. Do not make permanent decisions from a temporary wave. Do not send the message just because loneliness rose up. Do not reopen the door just because nostalgia started speaking. Do not call the old thing safe simply because it is familiar. Some emotions are visitors. Some emotions are teachers. Some emotions are warnings. And during this window, you must learn the difference. The fifth sign is that old people, old patterns, or old temptations begin resurfacing. This is very important. Right before a chosen one crosses into a new level of obedience, the past often tries to prove it still has access. Someone may return with the same energy in a different language. An old opportunity may come back, but something about it feels off. A habit you thought you had outgrown may suddenly look attractive again. A conversation you promised yourself you would never entertain may try to pull you back in. A version of you that survived by pleasing people, explaining yourself, chasing approval, or accepting crumbs may begin whispering again. This does not mean you have failed. It means the door is being tested. Because healing is not proven when the past is absent. Healing is proven when the past returns and you no longer bow to it. That is why you must be careful with what comes back around these dates. Not everything that returns is restoration. Some things return to see if you still have the same wound. Some things return to see if you still confuse attention with love. Some things return to see if you still mistake chaos for chemistry, familiarity for safety, and delay for destiny. This is not the time to be spiritually careless. This is not the time to ignore the check in your heart. This is not the time to negotiate with something God already gave you peace about leaving. The sixth sign is that certain environments feel draining now. The room did not change, but you did. The conversation did not change, but your tolerance did. The relationship may look the same from the outside, but inside you, something no longer agrees. You may walk into a place you used to enjoy, and suddenly your spirit feels crowded. You may hear the same jokes, the same complaints, the same gossip, the same emotional chaos, and instead of joining it, something in you becomes quiet. That quietness is not arrogance. That quietness is discernment. There are places that can only hold an older version of you. There are conversations that can only feed an older wound in you. There are rooms that loved your brokenness because your brokenness made you available. But now that God is making you whole, those rooms may not know what to do with you. So they may call you distant. They may call you different. They may say you changed, and maybe you did. Maybe that is the mercy. Maybe the change they are complaining about is the answer you prayed for. Because God did not heal you, so you could remain available to the same cycles that broke you. The seventh sign is an unusual urge to simplify. You may suddenly want to delete things, clear space, withdraw from noise, stop explaining, stop posting, stop answering every message, stop defending yourself, stop proving your heart to people who benefit from misunderstanding it. This urge is not always isolation. Sometimes it is preparation. Before God gives instruction, He often reduces noise. Before He opens the next door, He often clears the hallway. Before He speaks with precision, He often removes the voices that have been competing for authority in your life. And this is where many chosen ones struggle, because you have been trained to feel guilty for needing quiet. You have been trained to think that if you do not answer everyone, you are cruel. If you do not explain everything, you are wrong. If you do not keep showing up for people who drain you, you are selfish. But chosen one, silence is not always rejection. Distance is not always pride. Boundaries are not betrayal. Sometimes quiet is obedience. Sometimes space is protection. Sometimes becoming unavailable to chaos is the first sign that you are becoming available to God. Now listen carefully. These signs are not meant to make you afraid. They are meant to help you recognize the atmosphere of transition. Because when God warns, He does not always reveal the entire picture at once. He often gives enough light for the next step, enough discomfort to stop you from drifting, enough confirmation to make you pay attention, enough pressure to make you ask the right question. And the question is not, what terrible thing is about to happen? The question is, what is God trying to protect me from carrying into the next season? That is the question. Not fear, not panic, not obsession. Protection. What is God trying to protect me from carrying into the next season? Hold that question in your spirit for a moment. You do not have to say it out loud. You do not have to write anything down. Just let the question move through the quiet part of you. What is God trying to protect me from carrying into the next season? Maybe it is a relationship that keeps reopening the same wound. Maybe it is a habit that makes your discernment dull. Maybe it is a version of yourself that keeps apologizing for needing peace. Maybe it is a fear of being seen. Maybe it is the belief that you must understand the whole plan before you obey the first step. Maybe it is an old identity that was built for survival but cannot survive elevation. This is why God warns. He warns because He sees what you cannot see yet. He warns because He knows what looks harmless from where you stand may become heavy after you cross the threshold. He warns because He loves you too much to let you call a trap a blessing. He warns because you asked Him for clarity, and sometimes clarity arrives by making the wrong thing uncomfortable. Think about Noah. Before the rain came, there was instruction. Before the world understood what was happening, there was preparation. Before the visible event, there was a private warning. Noah had to build before other people understood. He had to obey before the sky explained itself. He had to look foolish in one season so he could be preserved in the next. That is the pattern many chosen ones do not like, but deeply understand. God may ask you to prepare before there is proof. He may ask you to separate before there is applause. He may ask you to stop before others understand why. He may ask you to obey a quiet instruction while everyone else still thinks everything is normal. And that is not punishment. That is protection. Think about Joseph. He had dreams before he had position. He had promise before he had evidence. He had a calling before he had a platform. He had betrayal, delay, false accusation, and prison before elevation. But none of it was wasted. The delay trained him. The rejection sharpened him. The hidden years formed him. Joseph did not step into the palace as an unprepared man. He stepped into the palace as someone who had been processed by pain and preserved by God. So if you feel like your life has been delayed, do not assume you were forgotten. Delay may have been formation. Silence may have been protection. Closed doors may have been redirection. What looked like loss may have been God keeping you from entering a room before your character was ready to carry the weight of it. And think about Esther. She did not step into her moment randomly. She was positioned before she understood the full reason. Her beauty opened a door, but her courage fulfilled the assignment. There came a moment when silence was no longer safety. There came a moment when her position became responsibility. There came a moment when she had to recognize that the timing of her life was not accidental. Chosen one, that is where some of you are right now. You are not just being comforted. You are being positioned. You are not just being healed. You are being prepared. You are not just being warned. You are being invited into a higher level of obedience. And this is why June 9th, 10th, and 11th carry weight. Because these dates are not simply about what may happen around you. They are about what God is revealing within you. June 9th asks, can you receive correction before consequence? June 10th asks, can you accept separation without chasing what is leaving? June 11th asks, can you obey instruction before you have the full picture? That is the real threshold. Not just a date, not just a warning, not just a moment. A threshold, and thresholds require attention. You do not cross a threshold by accident. You cross it with awareness. You cross it by releasing what does not belong. You cross it by listening when God interrupts the pattern. And chosen one, there is one more thing you must understand before we go into June 9th. The warning is not always about losing something. Sometimes the warning is about refusing to carry something. That is the deeper truth. You may think God is trying to stop something from happening to you, but He may be trying to stop something from continuing through you. A mindset, a wound, a fear, a loyalty to people who are not loyal to your purpose, a habit of shrinking when your assignment requires you to stand, a need to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding the new version of you, a pattern of delaying obedience until the instruction feels comfortable. That is what the warning touches. It touches the part of you that still wants the new season without releasing the old agreement. It touches the part of you that wants peace but keeps entertaining confusion. It touches the part of you that wants clarity but keeps listening to every voice except the one who has been guiding you all along. So as you move toward June 9th, do not ask only, what is coming? Ask, what must stop? What have I been tolerating that keeps draining my peace? What have I been calling patience when it is really fear? What have I been calling love when it is really attachment? What have I been calling wisdom when it is really avoidance? What have I been calling loyalty when it is really self-abandonment? Let those questions search you gently, not with shame, not with panic, not with condemnation, but with honesty. Because the warning of God is not the voice that crushes you. It is the voice that calls you back before the wrong thing costs you more than you were ever meant to pay. And if your spirit has been restless, if your peace has been interrupted, if your dreams have been loud, if your body has been heavy, if the same sign keeps returning, if the same door keeps bothering you, if the same person keeps pulling at something God already healed, then chosen one, do not ignore it. This is the beginning of the warning. And the warning is mercy. The warning is mercy before loss. The warning is mercy before confusion. The warning is mercy before you carry something into a place where it was never allowed to go. June 9th is where the correction begins. Not to shame you, not to scare you, not to make you feel behind, but to bring you back into alignment before the next door opens. Because once the warning is received, the next thing God often does is reveal what cannot continue. And that is where many people resist Him. They want the blessing, but not the correction. They want the open door, but not the separation. They want the instruction, but not the surrender. But you are not everyone. You are a chosen one. And if this message has found you at the right time, then something in you already knows this is not a coincidence. Something in you already knows God has been speaking. Something in you already knows the dates are not the source of power, but they are pointing to a moment of attention. So listen closely, because June 9th is not just another day on the calendar. It is the day of warning. It is the day God begins to expose what must stop. It is the day your peace may tell you the truth before your circumstances do. And if you ignore that warning, the cost may not come as one dramatic collapse. It may come as another cycle, another delay, another reopened wound, another missed instruction, another season of carrying what God already told you to release. But if you listen, the warning becomes protection. If you listen, the pressure becomes clarity. If you listen, the discomfort becomes direction. If you listen, the thing that felt heavy may become the very thing that saves you from stepping into the next season unprepared. So do not be afraid. Be attentive. Do not panic. Pay attention. Do not run. Return to alignment, because the first date is speaking, and what it reveals may explain why your spirit has not been able to rest. Because on June 9th, the warning begins with what your peace has been trying to tell you, not what your fear has been screaming, not what your anxiety has been inventing, not what other people are pressuring you to believe. Your peace, that quiet witness inside you that becomes heavy around certain choices, that inner check that rises when a door looks good on the outside, but something in you cannot say yes. That still, steady feeling that tells you something is not aligned, even when you do not yet have all the evidence. Chosen one, June 9th, is connected to correction. And correction is not rejection. Correction is not humiliation. Correction is not God pointing at you with anger. Correction is love interrupting a pattern before the pattern becomes more expensive. Correction is mercy standing in front of a door and saying, "Do not take this into the next season." Correction is God touching the one area you keep excusing, because He knows that what you excuse today may become what drains you tomorrow. This is why the first date feels serious. Not because you should be afraid of the day, but because you should become honest about what the day may be revealing. What must stop? That is the question June 9th places before you. What must stop before it costs you your peace? What must stop before it delays your obedience? What must stop before it pulls you back into a cycle God already gave you the strength to leave? What must stop before the next door opens and you try to walk through it carrying the very thing that made the last season so heavy? For some of you, what must stop is not dramatic. It is not a scandal. It is not a huge visible sin. It is a small agreement you keep making with an old version of yourself. It is the message you keep wanting to send, even though your spirit already knows the conversation will pull you backward. It is the habit you keep calling harmless, even though every time you return to it, your clarity becomes dull. It is the relationship you keep trying to make peaceful, when God has already shown you that peace cannot grow there. It is the opportunity you keep forcing because you are afraid that if you let this one go, nothing better will come. It is the version of loyalty that requires you to abandon yourself just to keep someone else comfortable. It is the version of patience that is really fear wearing a spiritual name. It is the version of forgiveness that keeps reopening the door without wisdom, boundaries, or change. Chosen one, this is where the warning becomes personal, because many times the thing that threatens your next season is not something obviously evil. It is something familiar. It is something you have explained. It is something you have renamed. It is something you have learned how to live with. It is something that no longer shocks you because you have adjusted your life around it. But just because you adjusted to it does not mean God approved it. Just because you survived it does not mean you are supposed to keep carrying it. Just because you know how to function with the weight does not mean the weight belongs in your future. June 9th is the moment where God begins to place His finger on what you have normalized. And this may feel uncomfortable. It may feel like conviction. It may feel like pressure. It may feel like your spirit is no longer letting you ignore what your mind keeps trying to justify. But do not confuse conviction with condemnation. Condemnation says, you are hopeless. Conviction says, come back. Condemnation crushes identity. Conviction restores direction. Condemnation makes you hide from God. Conviction makes you return to Him with honesty. And if this message is touching something inside you right now, that is not shame. That is mercy. That is the mercy of being corrected before consequence. That is the mercy of being awakened before you drift too far. That is the mercy of realizing, I cannot keep doing this and still become who God is calling me to become. The first thing June 9th may reveal is an old door that still has emotional access to you. This is one of the most serious warnings in this season, because some doors do not reopen with violence. They reopen with nostalgia. They reopen with a memory. They reopen with a simple message. They reopen with someone saying the right words at the exact moment you feel weak. They reopen when loneliness starts negotiating with your discernment. They reopen when you start remembering the good moments and minimizing the pattern that almost broke you. And chosen one, you need to understand this clearly. Not everything that returns is restored. Sometimes what returns is a test of whether you still believe the old version of love. Sometimes what returns is a test of whether your peace has become more valuable to you than attention. Sometimes what returns is a test of whether you are willing to protect what God healed, even if the person who wounded it suddenly acts soft. You may feel the pull. You may feel the old tenderness. You may feel your mind searching for reasons to make it safe. Maybe they changed. Maybe this time will be different. Maybe I judged too quickly. Maybe I should give one more chance. Maybe this is the restoration I prayed for. But chosen one, restoration carries fruit. Restoration does not only carry words. Restoration does not only carry emotion. Restoration does not only carry timing that feels dramatic. Restoration carries humility. It carries gains after the excitement fades. It carries evidence that the pattern has actually been broken. If what returns carries the same confusion, the same pressure, the same secrecy, the same emotional exhaustion, the same need for you to shrink, chase, explain, or abandon yourself, then do not call it God because it arrived in a familiar package. The warning may be this simple. Do not reopen what God closed. Do not revive what God buried. Do not romanticize what God rescued you from. Do not use loneliness as permission to return to captivity. If that sentence feels like it was meant for you, hold it inside your spirit. Do not make a dramatic vow. Do not perform anything. Just let your inner agreement become clear. You can even place one sentence in the comments if it feels true to your spirit. I will not reopen what God has already closed. Not as a performance, not as a public show, but as a witness. Because sometimes your obedience becomes stronger when you let your own words confirm what your spirit already knows. The second thing June 9th may reveal is delayed obedience. And this one is delicate because it can look spiritual from the outside. You may say you are waiting. You may say you are praying. You may say you are being patient. You may say you are letting God work. And sometimes that is true. Sometimes the holiest thing you can do is wait. Sometimes God really is saying, not yet. Sometimes rushing would ruin what He is preparing. But there is another kind of waiting. A waiting that is not faith. A waiting that is fear. A waiting that hides behind spiritual language because obedience would require you to change something. You already know the conversation you need to stop entertaining. You already know the habit you need to surrender. You already know the apology you need to give. You already know the boundary you need to hold. You already know the work you need to begin. You already know the place where you have been compromising. You already know the door that has been draining your spirit. And the issue is not that God has been silent. The issue is that the instruction was simple, but the cost felt uncomfortable. That is why delayed obedience can become dangerous for a chosen one. Not because God stops loving you, but because every time you postpone what you know, your sensitivity becomes a little quieter. Every time you negotiate with a clear instruction, confusion grows louder. Every time you call fear wisdom, your faith becomes harder to hear. Every time you delay the small step, the larger door remains out of reach. Chosen one, you do not need the whole map to obey the next instruction. You do not need every person to understand. You do not need the emotional storm to disappear before you do what is right. Sometimes, obedience begins while your voice is still shaking inside. Sometimes obedience begins when you are still unsure how everything will work out. Sometimes obedience begins when all you have is one small knowing. Stop answering, stop chasing, stop forcing, stop explaining, stop delaying, stop pretending you do not know. And this is where June 9th becomes a mercy. It brings the instruction back to the surface. It reminds you that God is not asking you to control the whole outcome. He is asking you to stop resisting the first clear step. The third thing June 9th may reveal is a false peace. False peace is one of the most dangerous things to a chosen one because it feels calm on the surface, but underneath it, your spirit is unsettled. False peace says, do not confront it, just keep the peace. False peace says, do not make them uncomfortable, just stay quiet. False peace says, do not change anything, at least you know how to survive this. False peace says, maybe this is enough. False peace says, maybe wanting more clarity is selfish. False peace says, maybe the heaviness is just part of life. But real peace does not require you to betray your discernment. Real peace does not require you to silence the truth God placed inside you. Real peace does not make you smaller. Real peace does not numb you into accepting what is slowly draining your spirit. There is a difference between peace and avoidance. Peace has clarity. Avoidance has fog. Peace has strength. Avoidance has excuses. Peace can wait without losing itself. Avoidance waits because it is afraid to move. And some of you have been calling avoidance peace because confronting the truth would require a decision. But June 9th is a day where the false peace begins to crack. You may feel the crack when the same person says the same thing again, and your spirit no longer believes it. You may feel the crack when the same habit brings the same emptiness, and you can no longer pretend it satisfies you. You may feel the crack when the same room feels too small, and you realize you have outgrown what once felt safe. You may feel the crack when the same excuse comes out of your own mouth, and something inside you says, that is not the truth anymore. Do not be afraid of the crack. Sometimes the crack is where light enters. Sometimes the crack is where truth finally breathes. Sometimes the crack is the mercy of God breaking the surface of a life you were never meant to stay trapped inside. The fourth thing June 9th may reveal is where you have been giving too much access. Access is sacred. Your attention is sacred. Your emotional availability is sacred. Your spiritual sensitivity is sacred. Your peace is sacred. Your calling is sacred. And because it is sacred, not everyone should have unlimited entry into it. Some people do not need to hate you, to drain you. Some people simply expect access that God never authorized. They expect your immediate response. They expect your emotional labor. They expect your explanation. They expect your agreement. They expect your presence in every crisis. They expect the old version of you who could be pulled into anything by guilt. And when you begin to change, they may act like your boundary is betrayal. But chosen one, access without wisdom becomes leakage. You cannot keep pouring into every open container and then wonder why you feel empty. You cannot keep letting every voice enter your spirit and then wonder why you cannot hear God clearly. You cannot keep giving your peace to people who do not value it and then wonder why your inner world feels crowded. June 9th may reveal that the issue is not that God has stopped speaking. The issue is that too many unauthorized voices have been speaking over the quiet place where his instruction was supposed to land. This is not the time to be available to every emotional demand. This is not the time to let guilt lead you. This is not the time to keep proving that you are kind by allowing yourself to be drained. Kindness does not require self-abandonment. Love does not require unlimited access. Forgiveness does not require returning to the same position where you were wounded. Peace does not require pretending nothing happened. And obedience does not require everyone to understand your boundary. You are allowed to become quieter. You are allowed to become harder to pull into chaos. You are allowed to become unavailable to what keeps interrupting your assignment. You are allowed to protect what God is building. You are allowed to let people misunderstand a boundary that was necessary for your survival. You are allowed to stop giving full access to people who only knew how to handle the broken version of you. And you do not owe an apology for becoming obedient. The fifth thing June 9th may reveal is where fear has been disguising itself as wisdom. This is very important, because fear rarely introduces itself as fear. Fear often sounds responsible. Fear says, be realistic. Fear says, do not expect too much. Fear says, stay where you are, because at least it is familiar. Fear says, do not try because disappointment will hurt. Fear says, do not trust the open door because what if it closes? Fear says, do not speak because what if they reject you? Fear says, do not move because what if you fail? Fear says, do not hope because hope made you look foolish before. And because fear uses the language of caution, you may mistake it for discernment. But discernment and fear have different fruit. Discernment may slow you down, but it does not shrink you. Fear shrinks you. Discernment may tell you to wait, but it does not steal your identity. Fear steals identity. Discernment may reveal danger, but it does not make God look absent. Fear makes you believe you are alone. Discernment brings sober clarity. Fear brings torment. Discernment protects obedience. Fear delays obedience. So if your reason for not moving is filled with panic, dread, shame, self-hatred, and imagined disaster, pause before you call it wisdom. It may not be wisdom. It may be an old wound trying to govern a new door. And June 9th is exposing that. It is asking you to separate the voice of God from the voice of survival. The voice of God can correct you without destroying you. The voice of God can warn you without humiliating you. The voice of God can tell you to wait without making you feel worthless. The voice of God can tell you to move without making you feel abandoned. But fear will always make obedience feel unsafe. Fear will always make the old cage feel like protection. Fear will always tell you the next step is too dangerous, even when staying where you are is slowly costing you everything. This is why the warning matters, because if you ignore it, the cost may not be immediate. It may not be one dramatic moment. It may not be a sudden collapse. It may be another month of confusion, another season of emotional exhaustion, another opportunity delayed because you kept negotiating with fear, another relationship cycle repeated because you mistook attachment for love, another door missed because you were too busy staring at the one God closed, another version of yourself buried under responsibilities that were never assigned to you. That is the real cost. The cost of ignoring June 9th is alignment. The cost is peace. The cost is clarity. The cost is sensitivity. The cost is time. The cost is becoming so used to the wrong weight that you no longer remember what freedom feels like. And, chosen one, that is why God is interrupting the pattern now. Not to condemn you, to recover you, not to shame you, to sharpen you, not to scare you, to protect what He has been preparing. There is a simple way to understand the warning without panic. Do not try to solve your whole life today. Do not demand the entire plan. Do not pressure yourself to make 10 decisions at once. Instead, let your spirit perform one inner action. Imagine your life as a room filled with many voices. Some voices are loud. Some voices are familiar. Some voices are emotional. Some voices are urgent. Some voices belong to people who taught you to doubt yourself. Some voices belong to old fears that learned how to sound wise. Now imagine that in the center of that room, there is one small flame. That flame is the witness of God inside you. It does not scream. It does not compete. It simply burns steady. One by one, let the loud voices step back. Let the voice of guilt step back. Let the voice of panic step back. Let the voice of nostalgia step back. Let the voice of fear step back. Let the voice of pressure step back. Do not fight them. Do not argue with them. Just let them move away from the flame. And then ask within yourself, what remains when the noise steps back? What still feels true when fear is no longer leading? What still feels clear when guilt is no longer speaking? What still feels peaceful when pressure is no longer touching it? That is where you begin. That is the place from which you discern June 9th. Because God is not asking you to respond from panic. He is asking you to return to the quiet place where truth can be heard. And from that place, you may begin to notice what must stop. Maybe you must stop returning to a conversation that keeps reopening confusion. Maybe you must stop apologizing for a boundary that saved your peace. Maybe you must stop making promises from exhaustion. Maybe you must stop calling every delay an attack when some delays are protection. Maybe you must stop feeding your mind with noise and then wondering why your spirit feels dull. Maybe you must stop asking God for new instructions while ignoring the last simple thing He told you. Maybe you must stop letting people who did not respect your pain define your healing. Maybe you must stop measuring your readiness by how confident you feel, because obedience often comes before confidence. Let the warning be specific. That is important. A vague warning creates fear. A specific warning creates clarity. God is not trying to leave you terrified. He is trying to make you aware. So when the warning rises, ask what it is pointing to. Is it pointing to a person? Is it pointing to a habit? Is it pointing to a decision? Is it pointing to a place? Is it pointing to a pattern? Is it pointing to a fear? Is it pointing to something you already know but keep postponing? The clearer it becomes, the less fear can use it against you. That is why the enemy of your peace loves confusion. Confusion keeps everything blurry. Confusion makes you feel responsible for everything. Confusion makes every door feel dangerous and every decision feel too heavy. But God's warning carries direction. It may be serious, but it is not chaotic. It may be urgent, but it is not frantic. It may be uncomfortable, but it is not cruel. And for someone listening right now, this is the word you needed. God is not trying to scare you. He is trying to save what He placed inside you. He is trying to save your peace from being spent in the wrong place. He is trying to save your attention from being captured by the wrong voices. He is trying to save your future from being shaped by an old wound. He is trying to save your obedience from being delayed by fear. He is trying to save your heart from calling a familiar trap a divine opportunity. Do not ignore that. Do not harden yourself against the very warning you prayed for. You asked for clarity, but clarity does not always arrive as comfort. Sometimes clarity arrives as the sudden realization that you cannot keep doing what you have been doing. Sometimes clarity arrives as the end of desire. Sometimes clarity arrives as a closed door. Sometimes clarity arrives as a strange peace about leaving. Sometimes clarity arrives as discomfort around the thing you once begged God to give you. Because sometimes God answers prayers by changing your appetite. He lets you stop wanting what would have weakened you. He lets you feel bored by what used to tempt you. He lets you become tired of the same cycle. He lets you lose interest in the old drama. He lets you feel detached from what once controlled your emotions. And at first, you may think something is wrong with you. But maybe nothing is wrong. Maybe you are being freed. Maybe June 9th is not exposing your failure. Maybe it is exposing your freedom. Maybe the reason the old thing no longer feels the same is because you are no longer the same. Maybe the reason you cannot go back is because God has already moved you inwardly. Maybe the reason your peace keeps resisting that door is because your spirit remembers what your emotions are trying to forget. This is where discernment becomes stronger than nostalgia. Nostalgia remembers moments. Discernment remembers patterns. Nostalgia says, "But there were good times." Discernment says, But what was the fruit? Nostalgia says, maybe it will be different. Discernment says, where is the evidence? Nostalgia says, I miss how it felt. Discernment says, I remember what it cost. Chosen one. Do not let a good memory talk you into a bad cycle. Do not let a soft moment erase a hard pattern. Do not let temporary loneliness overthrow permanent wisdom. This is not the season to romanticize what God had to heal you from. This is the season to honor the healing by refusing to return to what required it. And for some of you, the warning is not about another person. It is about yourself. It is about the way you abandon your own assignment when life becomes uncomfortable. It is about the way you start strong, then retreat when pressure increases. It is about the way you ask God for confirmation, receive it, and then ask again, because obedience still feels scary. It is about the way you keep waiting to feel perfectly ready before you move. It is about the way you keep comparing your timeline to people who were never given your assignment. It is about the way you keep letting one disappointment define what you believe is possible. And June 9th is saying, stop giving yesterday the authority to interpret tomorrow. Stop letting the wound decide what you can receive. Stop letting fear preach to your future. Stop letting the version of you that survived the wilderness make every decision for the version of you being called into promise. The wilderness version of you was necessary. Honor that version. That version endured. That version survived. That version learned how to keep going with very little support. That version prayed when nothing changed. That version stayed alive when the weight was too much. But that version cannot govern the next season by fear. Survival helped you make it through the night. But survival cannot be the voice that leads you into morning. At some point, the chosen one must stop living as if every open door is a trap. At some point, the chosen one must stop preparing for betrayal from people who have not betrayed them. At some point, the chosen one must stop expecting loss so intensely that they cannot receive blessing. At some point, the chosen one must stop calling self-protection obedience when God is actually asking for trust. This is the correction of June 9th. It is not only stop going back, it is also stop shrinking forward. Stop walking toward destiny with the posture of someone who expects to be rejected. Stop receiving love like you are waiting for it to disappear. Stop receiving opportunity like you are waiting to be exposed. Stop receiving rest like you have not earned it. Stop receiving instruction like God is trying to trick you. He is not tricking you. He is training you. He is not abandoning you. He is aligning you. He is not asking you to lose yourself. He is asking you to release what was never truly you. And this is why ignoring the warning can become costly. Because if God is correcting a pattern and you defend the pattern, you delay the freedom attached to the correction. If God is exposing an attachment and you protect the attachment, you delay the peace attached to the release. If God is showing you a boundary and you keep removing it, you delay the clarity attached to obedience. If God is telling you to stop and you keep moving from panic, you delay the provision attached to trust. The cost is not because God is cruel. The cost is because misalignment has consequences. A wrong yes has consequences. A delayed no has consequences. A reopened door has consequences. An ignored warning has consequences. An old pattern carried into a new season has consequences. And the most dangerous consequence is not always what happens around you. Sometimes the most dangerous consequence is what happens inside you. You stop trusting your own discernment. You hear the warning, ignore it, get hurt again, and then blame yourself until your spiritual confidence weakens. You receive the check in your spirit, override it, suffer the result, and then become afraid that you cannot hear God at all. But the issue was not that God failed to speak. The issue was that the warning was inconvenient. This is not said to shame you. It is said to restore your confidence. Because some of you think you missed God completely. But you did not miss him because he was silent. You struggled because the instruction required surrender. And now mercy is giving you another moment to hear clearly. That is what June 9th represents. Another moment to stop, another moment to listen, another moment to return, another moment to say, I will not keep calling this harmless when my spirit knows it is heavy. Another moment to say, I will not keep betraying my peace to maintain access to what drains me. Another moment to say, I will not keep asking for clarity while defending confusion. Another moment to say, I will not keep delaying the step God already made clear. Let that agreement settle inside you. Let it become quiet and firm. No panic, no performance, no fear, just alignment. Because the warning does not come to make you frantic. It comes to make you faithful. And faithfulness in this season may look very simple. It may look like not replying. It may look like not returning. It may look like not explaining. It may look like not forcing. It may look like not numbing yourself. It may look like not making the decision from loneliness. It may look like letting silence do what your words have never been able to do. It may look like trusting that if God closed the door, you do not have to stand outside it all night asking why. This is where many chosen ones must grow. You must stop treating closed doors like personal rejection. Some closed doors are divine security. Some closed doors are protection from future pain. Some closed doors are answers with hinges. Some closed doors are God saying, I know what is behind this, and I love you too much to let you enter. Do not worship the door that closed. Do not build your identity around the person who left. Do not keep rehearsing the opportunity that did not choose you. Do not let one closed door convince you that God is against you. June 9th may reveal that the door you keep grieving was never your destination. It was only the place where your attachment was exposed. And if you let God correct the attachment, you will begin to understand why He did not let you carry it forward. Now listen, the warning of June 9th leads directly into June 10th, because correction always prepares the way for separation. First, God shows you what must stop. Then He begins to show you what cannot stay. And this is where the process becomes emotional, because stopping a behavior is one thing, but releasing an attachment is another. It is one thing to say, I know this is wrong. It is another thing to let it go when part of your heart still wants it. It is one thing to recognize the warning. It is another thing to accept that the warning may require separation from a person, a pattern, a place, an identity, or a dream that your emotions are still holding, but chosen one. This is the mercy hidden inside the warning. God does not expose what must stop just to leave you standing in confusion. He exposes it so He can separate you from what cannot survive in the next season. And this is why your spirit has felt restless. This is why your peace has felt interrupted. This is why you may have felt like something is ending before you can fully see what is beginning. Because June 9th warns, and June 10th separates. The warning shows you what must stop. The separation shows you what cannot continue. And if you are willing to receive the warning without running from it, you will understand that God is not taking something from you to harm you. He is removing what would have harmed you if it stayed. So do not be afraid of what the warning reveals. Be grateful that it came before the consequence. Be grateful that you felt the pressure before the damage. Be grateful that your peace spoke before your circumstances broke. Be grateful that God interrupted the pattern before the pattern became another season. Because the warning is not the end. The warning is the doorway into protection. And once the warning has done its work, the next question becomes even deeper. What is God separating from your life? Because it cannot go where He is taking you. What He is separating from your life may not always look like an enemy. Sometimes it looks like comfort. Sometimes it looks like loyalty. Sometimes it looks like history. Sometimes it looks like a familiar voice that knows exactly how to reach the softest place in you. Sometimes it looks like a dream you carried for so long that you are afraid to admit God has outgrown your understanding of it. And this is why June 10th feels different from June 9th. June 9th reveals what must stop. June 10th reveals what cannot stay. The warning shows you the pattern. The separation shows you the attachment. The warning says, this is not aligned. The separation says, now release what keeps pulling you back into it. And, chosen one. This is where many people struggle, because it is possible to recognize a warning and still resist the separation attached to it. It is possible to know something is not good for you and still grieve the thought of living without it. It is possible to know God is protecting you and still feel sadness when He begins removing what you were emotionally connected to. It is possible to know the door is closed and still stand outside it with your hand on the handle. That does not mean you are weak. It means you are human. It means your heart had history there. It means your nervous system knew that place, that person, that habit, that version of yourself, even if your spirit knew it could not go forward. But June 10th is not asking whether the separation feels easy. It is asking whether you trust God enough to let Him remove what your emotions still want to negotiate with. This is the deeper work, because separation is not always about walking away from a bad person. Sometimes separation is God removing your dependence on being understood. Sometimes separation is God removing your addiction to explaining yourself. Sometimes separation is God removing the part of you that needs everyone to agree before you obey. Sometimes separation is God removing the old identity that learned how to survive by shrinking, pleasing, overgiving, overthinking, and carrying what was never assigned to you. That is why this date carries weight. June 10th may not only separate you from people, it may separate you from patterns. It may separate you from old appetites. It may separate you from false responsibilities. It may separate you from the emotional contracts you made with pain. It may separate you from the belief that love must feel like anxiety to be real. It may separate you from the belief that peace is boring because chaos was familiar. It may separate you from the belief that you have to stay available to people who only know how to receive from the wounded version of you. And when this begins, it can feel strange. You may not hate the old thing. You may simply not fit inside it anymore. You may not be angry at the old room. You may simply feel like the air has changed. You may not feel dramatic. You may simply feel done. Not bitter, not cold, not cruel, just done. And sometimes that quiet done is more spiritual than the loudest emotional breakthrough. Because when God separates you, He does not always need a dramatic explosion. Sometimes He removes the appetite. Sometimes He removes the desire. Sometimes He removes the illusion. Sometimes He lets you see the same thing clearly enough that you cannot unknow what you now know. Sometimes He lets the emotional spell break quietly, and one day you realize, I cannot go back. Not because I am angry, not because I am trying to prove something, not because I want revenge, but because my spirit no longer agrees with that place. That is separation, and it is holy. The first kind of separation June 10th may reveal is separation from relationships that were built around your brokenness. This is one of the most painful forms of separation because these relationships may not have started with bad intentions. Some people truly knew you in a difficult season. They knew the version of you that needed help. They knew the version of you that apologized quickly. They knew the version of you that made excuses for everyone. They knew the version of you that carried the emotional weight of the room. They knew the version of you that was afraid to disappoint people. They knew the version of you that would rather suffer quietly than be called selfish. And because they knew that version so well, they may not know what to do with the version of you who is healing. They may not know what to do with your boundaries. They may not know what to do with your silence. They may not know what to do with your new peace. They may not know what to do with your refusal to argue. They may not know what to do with your willingness to let misunderstanding stand without chasing it down. And when people benefited from your brokenness, your healing can feel like betrayal to them. Not because you are betraying them, but because you are no longer betraying yourself. This is where separation becomes clear. You begin to notice who celebrates your growth and who only tolerated you when you were easy to control. You begin to notice who respects your peace and who feels offended by it. You begin to notice who loves your obedience and who loved your availability. You begin to notice who is connected to your purpose and who is connected to your pain. Do not ignore that noticing. God may be allowing you to see the difference. Not so you can hate anyone, not so you can become superior, not so you can call everyone toxic, but so you can stop confusing access with love. Some people can love you and still not be able to go where God is taking you. Some people can be part of your history and still not be assigned to your future. Some people can have shared memories with you and still not have the capacity to honor your calling. Some people can mean well and still pull you backward. Some people can be familiar and still be finished. This is a hard truth, but it is a freeing one, because when God separates, He is not always judging the other person. Sometimes He is protecting the assignment. Sometimes He is protecting the atmosphere needed for your next instruction. Sometimes He is protecting your peace from being constantly drained by old emotional agreements. Sometimes He is protecting your future from being shaped by people who only understand your past. And chosen one, you have to let Him. You have to let God be wiser than your attachment. You have to let God know what a connection will cost later, even if it feels comforting right now. You have to let God remove what would have required you to abandon yourself in order to keep it. The second kind of separation June 10th may reveal is separation from an old identity. This may be even more difficult than separating from people, because there are versions of yourself that helped you survive. The overthinker helped you feel prepared. The people pleaser helped you avoid conflict. The quiet one helped you stay safe. The strong one helped you carry pain without collapsing. The one who never needed anything helped you avoid disappointment. The one who expected rejection helped you feel less shocked when people left. The one who controlled everything helped you feel less afraid of uncertainty. Those versions of you were not useless. They were survival strategies. They kept you moving when you did not have the support you needed. They protected you in rooms where tenderness was not safe. They helped you endure seasons where you had to be your own encouragement. So do not hate those versions of yourself. Honor them, but do not let them lead the next season, because what helped you survive in the wilderness may not help you walk in promise. The overthinker cannot lead you into peace. The people pleaser cannot lead you into purpose. The one who expects rejection cannot lead you into healthy love. The one who controls everything cannot lead you into trust. The one who carries everyone cannot lead you into rest. The one who hides cannot lead you into visibility. This is where separation becomes internal. God may not only be saying, leave that place. He may be saying, release that posture. He may not only be saying, stop talking to that person. He may be saying, stop becoming the old you every time you feel uncertain. He may not only be saying, close that door. He may be saying, stop standing at closed doors because the old version of you believes rejection is familiar enough to feel like home. June 10th asks you to let the survival identity rest, not disappear, not be hated, not be erased, but rest, because a healed life cannot be governed by an emergency version of yourself forever. You are allowed to become softer without becoming weak. You are allowed to become quieter without becoming invisible. You are allowed to become peaceful without becoming passive. You are allowed to become unavailable to chaos without becoming unloving. You are allowed to become obedient without being understood. You are allowed to become new without apologizing for the death of the old version. And you do not owe anyone an apology for becoming who God was forming all along. Let that settle in you. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to outgrow places. You are allowed to outgrow patterns. You are allowed to outgrow old reactions. You are allowed to outgrow the version of yourself that only knew how to survive. You are allowed to protect what God is building in you. And you are allowed to stop explaining your growth to people who are committed to grieving your old availability. If that is your witness, let one sentence rise quietly in your heart. I release what cannot go with me. You do not have to say it out loud if you cannot. You do not have to write it down. Just let it become an agreement inside you. I release what cannot go with me. And if it feels right, you can place that same sentence in the comments as a marker of obedience. I release what cannot go with me. Not because you are performing for anyone, but because sometimes a simple sentence becomes a boundary between the old season and the new one. The third kind of separation June 10th may reveal is separation from places and environments that have become too small for your spirit. There are places that once protected you, but now restrict you. There are places that once gave you comfort, but now drain your strength. There are rooms that once felt safe because they matched your level of fear, but now they feel suffocating because your spirit has grown beyond them. There are conversations that once made you feel included, but now leave you feeling heavy. There are circles that once gave you belonging, but now require you to lower your discernment to remain accepted. And when you start feeling this, you may question yourself. Am I becoming distant? Am I becoming proud? Am I becoming too sensitive? Am I losing connection? But sometimes what you call distance is actually discernment. Sometimes what you call sensitivity is actually spiritual maturity. Sometimes what you call loneliness is actually God creating space around you so you can hear differently. Sometimes what you call disconnection is actually separation from an atmosphere that cannot carry the instruction coming next. Every next level requires an atmosphere. A seed cannot grow in every soil. A flame cannot survive in every wind. A calling cannot mature in every room. A chosen one cannot keep feeding on noise and expect to hear divine instruction clearly. So if certain environments have begun to feel heavy, do not immediately assume something is wrong with you. Ask what your spirit is noticing. Ask what your peace is telling you. Ask why the same room that once felt familiar now feels like a cage. Ask why the same conversations that once entertained you now feel like static. Ask why the same patterns that once felt normal now feel spiritually expensive. That expense matters because every environment has a cost. Some environments cost you focus. Some environments cost you peace. Some environments cost you purity of intention. Some environments cost you clarity. Some environments cost you time. Some environments cost you the courage to obey. And June 10th may be revealing the cost, so you stop calling the place harmless. You do not need to hate the room to leave it. You do not need to condemn the people to outgrow the atmosphere. You do not need to make a public announcement. You do not need to turn separation into a performance. Sometimes obedience is quiet. Sometimes separation is internal before it becomes external. Sometimes the first movement is simply that your spirit stops agreeing. And when your spirit stops agreeing, do not force it to go back to sleep. The fourth kind of separation June 10th may reveal is separation from dreams that were too small. This may surprise you, because most people only think separation means losing something bad. But sometimes God separates you from something good because it is not the fullness of what He is calling you into. Sometimes the dream was not wrong. It was just incomplete. Sometimes the plan was not evil. It was just too small for the assignment. Sometimes the door looked promising because it matched who you used to be. But now God is calling you into something that requires a larger surrender. This is difficult because small dreams can feel safe. They give you something to manage, something to control, something to explain, something that does not require too much faith. But chosen one, God did not bring you through all that formation just so you could build a life small enough to never require trust. He did not sharpen your discernment so you could live by fear. He did not teach you endurance so you could use survival as a ceiling. He did not let you walk through hidden years just so you could choose a future that keeps you hidden forever. There is a difference between humility and shrinking. Humility says, God, lead me. Shrinking says, I am too afraid to be seen. Humility says, I will serve faithfully. Shrinking says, I will bury what you gave me so no one can judge it. Humility says, I do not need applause. Shrinking says, I do not want responsibility. Humility bows before God. Shrinking bows before fear. And June 10th may be separating you from the kind of dream that allowed fear to stay in charge. Maybe you asked for something because at the time, it was the biggest thing you could imagine. But your spirit has grown. Your capacity has grown. Your pain has matured into wisdom. Your wilderness has created depth. Your silence has built strength. Your tears have watered something you do not fully see yet. And now God may be asking you to let go of the smaller version of the dream so He can reveal the truer one. This is not loss. This is expansion. But expansion often feels like grief before it feels like freedom. Because you are not only releasing what hurt you, you are releasing what once helped you feel safe. The fifth kind of separation June 10th may reveal is separation from the need to be understood. This is one of the deepest separations for a chosen one, because you have spent so much of your life being misunderstood. You have had people misread your silence, misread your sensitivity, misread your boundaries, misread your distance, misread your calling, misread your heart. And because of that, you learned how to explain. You explained your intentions. You explained your pain. You explained your decisions. You explained your boundaries. You explained your exhaustion. You explained why you could not keep carrying what other people kept placing on you. And sometimes, explaining was necessary. But sometimes, explaining became a prison, because you started believing that you were not allowed to obey until everyone understood. You started believing that peace required approval. You started believing that if someone misunderstood you, it was your responsibility to chase down their perception and fix it. But June 10th may separate you from that need. Not because truth does not matter. Truth matters. Not because communication is not important. Communication is important. But because obedience cannot always wait for consensus. There will be moments when God gives you an instruction that other people cannot understand because they were not present in the secret place where He formed it. There will be moments when your separation looks confusing to people who only saw the surface. There will be moments when your silence is called pride because people cannot see the prayer behind it. There will be moments when your boundary is called rejection because people cannot see the exhaustion that made it necessary. There will be moments when your obedience disappoints people who benefited from your delay. And in those moments, you will have to choose. Will you obey God, or will you keep editing your life to make it easier for people to interpret? Chosen one. You are not called to be easily interpreted by everyone. You are called to be faithful. You are not called to make every person comfortable with your becoming. You are called to become. You are not called to spend your whole life defending the inner work God is doing in you. You are called to protect it until it has fruit. This is why separation from explanation is holy, because some explanations only reopen the wound. Some explanations give access to people who were supposed to stay outside the gate. Some explanations turn obedience into a debate. Some explanations invite opinions into a place where God already gave instruction. And some explanations are only your fear asking for permission to obey. June 10th may be the day you stop needing permission from people who are not responsible for your assignment. Let that be received gently. You do not need everyone to understand why your spirit is quieter. You do not need everyone to understand why you are no longer available for the same conversations. You do not need everyone to understand why your yes has changed. You do not need everyone to understand why your no has become stronger. You do not need everyone to understand why the old room no longer feels like home. If God understands, that is enough to begin. People may understand later, or they may not, but your obedience cannot be held hostage by their confusion. Now, this is where the process becomes uncomfortable in a different way. Because once separation begins, there is often silence. When the old noise fades, you may expect immediate clarity. But sometimes after God separates, He lets the silence settle first. And that silence can feel strange. It can feel like emptiness. It can feel like loneliness, the space between June 10th and June 11th. Separation creates room. Instruction fills it, but the room must become quiet before the instruction can be heard. And this is where many chosen ones get tempted to go backward, because silence can feel like abandonment when you are used to chaos. Peace can feel unfamiliar when your nervous system was trained in survival. A clean space can feel empty when you are used to emotional clutter. A quiet season can feel like rejection when you are used to being needed, pulled, demanded, and interrupted. But do not confuse quiet with absence. Do not confuse stillness with delay. Do not confuse peace with nothing happening. There is a kind of silence that is not empty. It is holy. It is the silence after God removes noise. It is the silence after the wrong voices lose access. It is the silence after the old door closes. It is the silence before instruction. And if you rush to fill that silence, you may miss what it was created to carry. That is why spiritual fog becomes so important here. Because some of you are not resisting God intentionally. You are simply tired. Your mind has been noisy for so long that quiet feels confusing. Your body has been carrying pressure for so long that peace feels suspicious. Your emotions have been pulled in so many directions that a simple instruction feels buried under layers of fear, memory, guilt, and mental static. And if that is you, hear this with compassion. You are not broken because you struggle to hear clearly. You are not faithless because your mind feels foggy. You are not failing because your thoughts have been loud. A chosen one can be spiritually sensitive and mentally exhausted at the same time. A chosen one can love God and still feel overwhelmed. A chosen one can be called and still need clarity. A chosen one can be obedient and still feel the heaviness of a nervous system that has been living in survival for too long. This is why God often reduces noise before he gives the next instruction. Not because he is withholding from you, but because he is helping you become able to receive. Think of your inner life like a room filled with static. The instruction may be present, but the receiver is overwhelmed. The voice of fear is speaking. The voice of guilt is speaking. The voice of the past is speaking. The voice of pressure is speaking. The voice of other people's expectations is speaking. The voice of old pain is speaking. And somewhere underneath all of that, the quiet witness of God is steady. But you cannot hear the steady voice clearly when every unauthorized voice is shouting. This is why separation is not punishment. Separation clears the frequency. Separation removes interference. Separation gives your spirit room to hear what was being drowned out. And later, I need to show you something important about this, because there is a connection between spiritual clarity, mental noise, and the way your brain enters a state of focus and receptivity. There is a reason some prayers feel like they hit a ceiling, not because God is distant, but because your mind is trapped in survival static. There is a reason you can feel called and still feel unable to focus. There is a reason you can know something is important and still feel mentally scattered when you try to respond. There is a reason your spirit can be willing while your mind feels locked. I will come back to that after we step through the third date, because June 11th is about instruction, and instruction requires a clear receiver. But before that, you need to understand what June 10th is doing. June 10th is not only removing what is wrong, it is clearing the room for what is next. It is not only ending access, it is making space for instruction. It is not only separating you from people, places, patterns, and identities. It is separating your spirit from the noise that kept making God's direction feel far away. That is why you may feel both lighter and uncomfortable at the same time. You may feel relief and grief. You may feel peace and uncertainty. You may feel free and lonely. You may feel ready and afraid. This does not mean the separation is wrong. It means your whole being is adjusting to freedom. Freedom can feel strange at first when bondage was familiar. Peace can feel strange at first when chaos trained your body. Silence can feel strange at first when you were used to being needed by everyone. A new identity can feel strange at first when the old one helped you survive. So give yourself grace. Do not run back to the old thing just because the new space feels unfamiliar. Do not reopen the door just because silence feels empty. Do not confuse grief with regret. Do not confuse discomfort with danger. Do not confuse transition with abandonment. Some separations hurt even when they are holy. Some goodbyes ache even when they are necessary. Some endings make you cry even when they save you. Some releases feel like loss before they reveal protection. You are allowed to feel the grief, but you are not required to obey the grief. You are allowed to miss the old thing, but you are not required to return to it. You are allowed to remember the good, but you are not required to forget the cost. You are allowed to love people from a distance, but you are not required to let them back into the place God just cleared. This is maturity. This is discernment. This is the holy strength of a chosen one who no longer lets emotion overrule instruction. And that strength has been forming in you for a long time. Every closed door trained it. Every betrayal trained it. Every season of silence trained it. Every prayer you prayed through tears trained it. Every time you chose not to retaliate trained it. Every time you walked away from what your flesh wanted but your spirit resisted, it trained you. You are not weak because separation hurts. You are strong because you are willing to release even when it hurts. And this is the moment where you must understand the difference between separation and rejection. Rejection says, you are not wanted. Separation says, you are being set apart. Rejection says, you are being abandoned. Separation says, you are being protected. Rejection says, you are losing value. Separation says, your value can no longer be placed in the wrong hands. Rejection says, you are being left behind. Separation says, you are being repositioned. Rejection breaks identity. Separation protects destiny. So if something is leaving, do not immediately call it rejection. Ask if it is separation. Ask if God is making room. Ask if the thing that is leaving was connected to the old version of you more than the called version of you. Ask if the grief you feel is really love, or if it is fear of empty space. Ask if what you are trying to keep is actually what God is trying to remove. Chosen one, this is not a season to chase what God is separating. This is not a season to beg a closed door to reopen. This is not a season to keep negotiating with a version of your life that no longer has grace on it. There are things that had grace for a time. There are connections that had purpose for a season. There are places that were shelters during one chapter. There are habits that helped you cope when you did not know another way. But grace can lift. A season can end. A shelter can become a limitation. A coping mechanism can become a chain. And when God removes grace from something, you will feel it. It will take more energy to stay than it takes to leave. It will take more pretending to continue than it takes to be honest. It will take more emotional labor to maintain than it takes to release. That is one of the signs. When staying requires the death of your peace, separation may already be speaking. When keeping the connection requires betraying your discernment, separation may already be speaking. When remaining in the room requires becoming smaller than God made you, separation may already be speaking. When the old dream requires you to ignore the new calling, separation may already be speaking. And you do not need to demonize what you are leaving. Sometimes you simply need to obey. This is important, because if you need to make everything evil before you release it, you will stay too long. Not everything you leave is evil. Some things are expired. Some things are completed. Some things were for a season. Some things were preparation, not destination. Some things were scaffolding, not the building. Some things helped you grow, but were never meant to hold your future. Thank God for what helped you survive. Then release what cannot help you become. That is the posture of June 10th. Gratitude without attachment. Honor without bondage. Memory without return. Love without access. Peace without apology. If you can receive that, you are already stepping into maturity. Now let this happen inside you for a moment. Imagine the next season of your life as a gate in front of you. Not a gate you have to force open. Not a gate you have to earn by panic. A gate God has been preparing. Now imagine that everything you have been carrying begins to show its true weight. Some things become light. They belong. Wisdom belongs. Discernment belongs. Peace belongs. Faith belongs. Humility belongs. Courage belongs. Love that honors God belongs. Purpose belongs. But some things become heavy. Old guilt becomes heavy. Fear of being misunderstood becomes heavy. The need to explain becomes heavy. The relationship that keeps reopening confusion becomes heavy. The habit that dulls your spirit becomes heavy. The dream that was too small becomes heavy. The identity built only for survival becomes heavy. Now, in your spirit, do not throw these things with anger. Do not fight them. Simply set down what becomes too heavy to carry through the gate. Set down the guilt. Set down the false responsibility. Set down the need to be chosen by people God is separating. Set down the old agreement that says peace must be sacrificed for connection. Set down the version of yourself that thinks obedience requires permission from everyone. And as you set it down inwardly, let one sentence become clear. If it cannot go with God, it cannot go with me. Let that sentence stand like a guard at the gate of your spirit. If it cannot go with God, it cannot go with me. Not because you are cold, because you are consecrated. Not because you are cruel, because you are being protected. Not because you think you are better than anyone, because you finally understand that your assignment cannot be carried in an atmosphere of constant compromise. This is what June 10th is teaching you. Separation is not only about what leaves your life, it is about what finally stops having permission to govern you. The person may still exist, but they no longer govern your emotions. The memory may still exist, but it no longer governs your identity. The fear may still speak, but it no longer governs your decisions. The old room may still be there, but it no longer governs your belonging. The closed door may still be remembered, but it no longer governs your expectation. That is freedom. Not forgetting everything, not feeling nothing, not becoming untouchable. Freedom is when the old thing can be present in memory, but absent from authority. It no longer gets to tell you who you are. It no longer gets to define what you deserve. It no longer gets to decide how far you can go. It no longer gets to use your grief as a leash. It no longer gets to use your kindness as a doorway. It no longer gets to use your fear as a steering wheel. This is where a chosen one becomes dangerous to old cycles. Not because they are angry, but because they are free. Free enough to love without returning to bondage. Free enough to forgive without reopening access. Free enough to remember without rebuilding the prison. Free enough to grieve without going backward. Free enough to obey even while their emotions are still catching up. That is strength. That is maturity. That is what God has been forming in you. And this is why the silence after separation matters so much. Once the wrong things lose authority, the next instruction becomes possible. But the instruction does not always arrive immediately as a loud announcement. Sometimes it comes as a quiet knowing. Sometimes it comes as one small step. Sometimes it comes as a repeated phrase. Sometimes it comes as a peace around one direction and heaviness around another. Sometimes it comes through a door that opens without manipulation. Sometimes it comes through a delay that no longer feels like punishment. Sometimes it comes through your own changed appetite. This is why you must not rush the space between separation and instruction. If June 9th is the warning and June 10th is the separation, then June 11th is the instruction. But instruction requires stillness. It requires a heart that is not clinging to what God is removing. It requires a mind that is not drowning in static. It requires a spirit that is willing to hear something simple and obey it without demanding the entire future in advance. And that is where many people miss the moment. They want God to explain the entire journey before they obey the first step. They want the destination before the instruction. They want the guarantee before the surrender. They want the blessing before the release. They want the open door while still holding the handle of the closed one. But God often works differently. He gives the next step, not the whole staircase. He gives enough light for obedience, not enough detail for control. He gives peace for the step, not always proof for the outcome. And for a chosen one, this is the test. Can you trust the instruction when it is small? Can you trust the peace when it is quiet? Can you trust the separation when it still hurts? Can you trust the closed door when you do not yet see the open one? Can you trust that God is not removing things from you because He is emptying your life, but because He is making room for what requires a cleaner atmosphere? That is the question. And if you are honest, part of you may feel ready, and part of you may feel afraid. That is normal. Readiness does not always feel like excitement. Sometimes readiness feels like trembling obedience. Sometimes readiness feels like finally being too tired to keep disobeying. Sometimes readiness feels like a quiet yes after a long season of resistance. Sometimes readiness feels like peace that does not make sense yet. So do not wait until all fear disappears before you listen. Do not wait until you feel perfectly confident before you obey. Do not wait until everyone understands before you move. Do not wait until the old thing stops calling before you stop answering. Do not wait until separation stops hurting before you trust that it was holy. Because sometimes your emotions catch up after your obedience. Sometimes peace comes after the release. Sometimes clarity comes after the step. Sometimes strength comes after the yes. And sometimes the instruction of God only becomes visible after the wrong thing is no longer standing in front of it. This is why June 10th matters. It clears the view. It removes the fog. It quiets the room. It separates what cannot come forward. It prepares you to hear what June 11th will ask of you. And as we move toward that third date, understand this. The instruction you are waiting for may not be complicated. It may not be dramatic. It may not come with fireworks. It may be simple. Do not go back. Make the call. Stay silent. Prepare the room. Rest tonight. Forgive without returning. Stop forcing. Begin again. Let them leave. Take the next step. Trust the closed door. Protect the peace. Choose the path that does not require you to betray your spirit. Sometimes, the most divine instruction is simple enough for fear to underestimate. But simple does not mean small. One simple instruction can change an entire season. One act of obedience can close a cycle that has lasted years. One boundary can protect a calling. One release can restore your peace. One no can make room for the right yes. One quiet decision can become the hinge that turns the door of your future. So do not despise the small instruction when it comes. Do not reject it because it does not look dramatic. Do not ignore it because it does not feed your need for control. Do not call it too simple when God may be using it to redirect everything. June 11th is where the instruction begins to become clear. But before you receive it, let June 10th finish its work. Let separation do what warning began. Let the old access close. Let the old identity rest. Let the old room lose its authority. Let the old dream become seed for something greater. Let the need to be understood bow before the need to obey. Let the silence become holy instead of threatening. Let the fog clear. Let the receiver become still. Because what comes next is not just another message. It is the question of whether you are ready to obey what God has been trying to say all along. And chosen one, if you can receive the warning without panic and accept the separation without chasing what is leaving, then June 11th becomes more than a date. It becomes a doorway of instruction, a moment where God may not show you everything, but He may show you enough. Enough to move, enough to stop, enough to release, enough to prepare, enough to choose peace, enough to protect the assignment, enough to step into the next season without dragging the old one behind you. That is why the separation had to happen first, because the instruction cannot land clearly in a crowded spirit. The next word cannot be received while the old noise is still governing the room. The new door cannot be entered while both hands are still holding what God is asking you to release. So now the question changes. Not what must stop, not what must leave, but what is God about to instruct you to do next? What God is about to instruct you to do next may not arrive the way you expected. It may not come like a dramatic voice from the sky. It may not come with every detail arranged in front of you. It may not come with applause, certainty, comfort, or approval from the people around you. It may come as one quiet instruction, one sentence in your spirit, one direction that keeps returning, one door that feels peaceful, even though it is not fully explained, one no that does not need anger behind it, one yes that feels sober, steady, and clean, one small step that does not look impressive to anyone else, but feels weighty in the hidden place where God speaks to you. That is why June 11th matters. June 9th reveals what must stop. June 10th reveals what cannot stay. June 11th reveals what must be obeyed. And chosen one, this is where everything becomes more personal. Because receiving a warning is one thing, accepting separation is another. But obeying instruction when you do not have the full picture requires trust at a deeper level. It requires you to stop using uncertainty as an excuse. It requires you to stop waiting for every emotion to agree before you move. It requires you to stop demanding that God explain the entire road before you take the next step. It requires you to understand that divine instruction is often simple, but never small. A simple instruction can close a cycle that has been open for years. A simple instruction can protect a future you cannot yet see. A simple instruction can separate you from a hidden trap. A simple instruction can put you in the right room at the right time. A simple instruction can stop you from wasting another season trying to make life grow in soil that has already gone dry. So do not despise the simple thing. Do not ignore the quiet thing. Do not reject the instruction because it does not satisfy your need for control. Sometimes God will not show you the full map, because the full map would make you negotiate. Sometimes He gives you only the next step, because the next step is the place where trust is formed. Sometimes He keeps the outcome hidden because your obedience must be rooted in His voice, not in your ability to predict the result. This is the instruction of June 11th. Not everything. Enough. Enough to stop. Enough to move. Enough to wait. Enough to release, enough to prepare, enough to be silent, enough to speak, enough to return to peace, enough to choose the door that does not require you to betray your spirit. And for some of you, the instruction will be to stop, not stop living, not stop hoping, not stop believing, but stop forcing, stop chasing, stop reopening, stop explaining. Stop trying to manufacture what God has not released. Stop trying to create a blessing out of something that has already lost grace. Stop standing in front of a closed door calling it patience. Stop calling anxiety passion. Stop calling pressure confirmation. Stop calling emotional urgency the voice of God. There are moments when the holiest instruction is not move forward. Sometimes the instruction is be still. Sometimes the instruction is do not touch it. Sometimes the instruction is let it finish. Sometimes the instruction is do not answer. Sometimes the instruction is do not defend yourself. Sometimes the instruction is allow silence to reveal what words have been hiding. This is hard for a chosen one because you are used to carrying responsibility. You are used to trying to fix what feels broken. You are used to stepping in. You are used to feeling the weight of what everyone else avoids. You are used to believing that if something goes wrong, you must be the one who repairs it. But there are seasons where God is not asking you to repair the old thing. He is asking you to stop touching it, so He can reveal what it really is. There are seasons where your involvement is the very thing keeping the cycle alive. There are seasons where your explanation is feeding the confusion. There are seasons where your compassion becomes access for something God is trying to separate. There are seasons where your desire to be kind becomes the doorway through which chaos keeps entering. So if June 11th gives you the instruction to stop, do not treat it as failure. Stop can be obedience. Silence can be obedience. Distance can be obedience. Rest can be obedience. Refusal can be obedience. A calm no can be obedience. Not every instruction looks like movement. Some instructions look like restraint. Some instructions look like standing still while the old thing collapses without your help. Some instructions look like refusing to rescue a pattern God is judging. And if that is your instruction, receive it without shame. For others, the instruction will be to move, not impulsively, not from panic, not from comparison, not because someone else is ahead, but because the season of preparation has done what it was supposed to do. There comes a moment when waiting becomes disobedience. There comes a moment when prayer becomes avoidance if you keep using it to delay the step God already made clear. There comes a moment when the door is open, the peace is there, the confirmation has repeated, and the only thing left is your willingness to move. And if that is where you are, June 11th may feel like a quiet push from heaven. Not harsh, not frantic, but steady. A knowing that says, begin. A knowing that says, answer the call. A knowing that says, prepare the room. A knowing that says, make the decision. A knowing that says, the grace for hesitation is lifting. A knowing that says, you have prayed long enough about what I already told you to do. This is not about rushing. It is about alignment. It is about recognizing the difference between divine timing and fear-based delay. Divine timing carries peace, even when it requires patience. Fear-based delay carries heaviness, even when it uses spiritual language. Divine timing matures you. Fear-based delay shrinks you. Divine timing produces readiness. Fear-based delay produces excuses. Divine timing makes you attentive. Fear-based delay makes you numb. And if you can tell the difference, you will know whether June 11th is asking you to wait or move. For some of you, the instruction will be to speak. Not speak from anger. Not speak to prove yourself. Not speak because your ego wants the last word. But speak because truth has been waiting in you long enough. There are times when silence protects peace. But there are also times when silence protects fear. There are times when silence is wisdom. But there are also times when silence becomes agreement with something God is asking you to confront. This is why discernment matters. The same God who may tell one chosen one to be quiet may tell another chosen one to speak. The same God who may tell one person to wait may tell another person to move. The instruction is not copied. It is discerned. You cannot borrow someone else's obedience. You cannot build your life from someone else's assignment. You cannot assume that because God told one person to stay, He is telling you to stay. You cannot assume that because God told one person to leave, He is telling you to leave. You must listen. And that is the point of June 11th. The instruction is not about becoming dramatic. It is about becoming attentive. Attentive to peace. Attentive to conviction. Attentive to repeated confirmation. Attentive to the difference between fear and warning. Attentive to the difference between pressure and guidance. Attentive to the difference between a door that requires courage and a door that requires compromise. That difference will save you, because not every hard door is wrong, and not every easy door is God. Some doors require courage because they are assigned to your future. Some doors feel easy because they are pulling you back into an old pattern. Some doors feel scary because your old identity is afraid of growth. Some doors feel peaceful because God is in them. Some doors feel exciting because your wound recognizes the chaos. This is why you cannot discern only by emotion. Emotion is information, but it is not always instruction. A feeling can reveal something, but it does not always rule everything. You must ask what the feeling is connected to. Is it connected to peace? Is it connected to fear? Is it connected to old pain? Is it connected to pride? Is it connected to humility? Is it connected to obedience? Is it connected to attachment? Is it connected to God? This is where a chosen one must become mature, because immature discernment says, I feel it, so it must be God. Mature discernment says, I feel it, but I will test the fruit. Does it produce peace or torment? Does it produce clarity or confusion? Does it produce humility or obsession? Does it produce obedience or addiction? Does it require truth or secrecy? Does it honor what God has been healing, or does it reopen what God already closed? June 11th is not asking you to become suspicious of everything. It is asking you to become sober enough to test what appears, sober enough to slow down when pressure feels too loud, sober enough to move when peace is steady, sober enough to stop calling every emotional pull a divine sign, sober enough to stop calling every delay a demonic attack, sober enough to realize that sometimes God's instruction is quiet because He wants your spirit to grow in sensitivity. There is a word that helps explain this: kairos. It means an appointed time, not just ordinary time passing on a clock, not just another date, not just another number, an appointed moment, a moment where something becomes ripe, a moment where preparation meets instruction, a moment where delay turns into direction, a moment where the thing you learned in silence becomes necessary in public. That is the way you must understand June 9th, June 10th, and June 11th. Not as magic dates, not as superstition, not as fear, but as a kairos window for those whose spirit bears witness. June 9th is the appointed moment of warning. June 10th is the appointed moment of separation. June 11th is the appointed moment of instruction. And if your spirit recognizes this, then the question becomes simple. Will you respond? Not perfectly, not dramatically, not loudly, faithfully. Will you respond to the warning without panic? Will you accept the separation without chasing what is leaving? Will you receive the instruction without demanding the whole map? That is the real test, and there is a quiet way to begin. You do not need to stand up. You do not need to write anything down. You do not need to perform a ritual. You can do this inside your spirit, wherever you are. Imagine your heart as a quiet room. In that room, there are 3 doors. One door is marked correction. One door is marked separation. One door is marked instruction. Do not force them open. Simply allow your spirit to stand before them. At the first door, ask within yourself, what has God been warning me to stop? Do not chase 10 answers. Let the first honest answer rise. RB, a conversation, a fear, a delay, a compromise, a false peace, a reopened door. At the second door, ask within yourself, what cannot go with me? Again, do not force 10 answers. Let the weight reveal itself. A person's access, an old identity, a small dream, a need to explain, an environment, an emotional agreement with pain. At the third door, ask within yourself, what is the next obedient step? Not the whole plan, not the next 10 years, not the final outcome, just the next obedient step. Stop, wait, move, speak, stay silent, prepare, release, begin, and when one word becomes steady, do not fight it with panic. Let it sit in the deepest part of you. Let it become simple. Let it become clean. Let it become enough for today. Because God is not asking you to carry tomorrow before you obey today. The next step is enough. If that resonates with your spirit, you can place one sentence in the comments as a quiet agreement. I will obey the next clear step, not as a performance, not to impress anyone, but as a witness to yourself that you are no longer willing to live by confusion. I will obey the next clear step, because clarity does not always become stronger by waiting. Sometimes clarity becomes stronger by obeying the portion you already have. And this brings us back to something I told you earlier. Some of you are not resisting God because you are rebellious. Some of you are struggling because your inner receiver has been covered in static. Your spirit wants to listen, but your mind has been tired. Your heart wants to obey, but your thoughts have been scattered. Your deeper self knows there is a next step, but survival mode has been speaking so loudly that even simple instruction feels hard to hold. You can feel called and still feel foggy. You can love God and still feel mentally exhausted. You can sense a divine window and still feel like your focus is being pulled in 10 directions. This is why spiritual clarity and mental clarity are more connected than many people realize. If your mind is constantly in survival, if your thoughts are always racing, if your inner world is always reacting, it becomes difficult to hear the quiet instruction that does not shout. And this is not about blaming you. This is about understanding what has been happening. You have been carrying pressure. You have been processing grief. You have been surviving seasons where you had to be strong for too long. You have been trying to hear God while your nervous system is still listening for danger. You have been trying to receive instruction while your mind is filled with noise from old battles. And sometimes, before you can receive the next word clearly, you need to become quiet enough inside to notice it. That is why I want to speak to the chosen one who feels foggy. The chosen one who used to feel sharper. The chosen one who used to feel more creative. The chosen one who remembers being younger and sensing things more clearly, learning faster, imagining bigger, feeling more alive, more intuitive, more connected. Then life happened. Pain happened. Pressure happened. Systems happened. Disappointment happened. Survival happened. And somewhere along the way, you began to feel like the light inside your mind had dimmed. Not disappeared. Dimmed. You still knew something was there. You still felt there was more in you. You still sensed that you were not living at the level of clarity, creativity, and spiritual sensitivity you were created to carry. But reaching it felt harder than it should. And that is why what I am about to share matters. Not as a replacement for prayer, not as a replacement for obedience, not as a magic solution, but as a tool that may support the very thing we have been talking about: a clearer receiver, a calmer mind, a more focused inner state. There is a 7-minute audio track called The Genius Song. It was created around the idea of brain entrainment, which is a way of using sound to help guide the brain into certain patterns of activity. The focus of this track is gamma. Gamma is often associated with heightened focus, insight, and those moments where your mind feels unusually clear, connected, and alive. Some people call it a flow state. Some people describe it as the state where ideas connect faster, intuition feels sharper, and the mind feels less trapped in ordinary noise. And when I heard about this, I immediately thought about people like you, because chosen ones often carry a strange memory of themselves. They remember a version of themselves that was more open, more creative, more sensitive, more alive. They remember being able to sense things before they had language. They remember having moments where learning felt easy, imagination felt natural, and life felt more enchanted. Then the world slowly trained them into survival. The pressure of life lowered the volume of that inner genius. The noise of modern living made the mind heavy. The constant stress made clarity feel far away. And for some, prayer did not stop. Faith did not stop. Desire did not stop. But focus became harder. Peace became harder. Receiving became harder. Not because God left, but because the receiver was covered in static. The Genius Song is designed to be a simple 7-minute listening experience through headphones. No complicated practice, no long routine, no need to force yourself into a perfect mental state. You simply listen. And the idea is that the audio helps guide the brain toward a gamma-connected state, supporting focus, clarity, and that inner sense of being more awake. Now I want to be very clear. This is not God in a file. This is not a shortcut around obedience. This is not something you use instead of prayer, wisdom, repentance, healing, or action. And I would never want you to treat it like a spiritual idol. It is a tool, a support, a small daily ritual that may help some people quiet the mental static enough to become more focused, more receptive, and more intentional. Think of it like tuning a radio. The broadcast may already be present, but if the radio is full of static, you struggle to hear what is being said. The tool does not become the voice. It simply helps tune the receiver. And for someone in this June 9th, 10th, and 11th window, that matters. Because warning requires attention. Separation requires clarity. Instruction requires a receiver that is not constantly drowned in noise. There is a story that captures this well. A woman had already tried many spiritual practices. She had tried to meditate. She had tried to force herself into peace. She had tried retreats, methods, routines, and all kinds of things that promised connection. But she still felt like something was missing. She did not feel evil. She did not feel hopeless. She just felt disconnected. Like the signal was there, but she could not hold it clearly. She started using the 7-minute audio, not because she was expecting a miracle, but because she was tired of feeling locked out of her own clarity. And after some time, she described the change in a very simple way. She said it felt like life began speaking again through synchronicities, not in a chaotic way, not in a forced way, but in a way that made her feel more attentive, more present, more able to notice what she had been missing. That is the kind of support I am talking about. Not hype, not fantasy, not a promise that your entire life changes overnight, but a tool that may help bring your mind into a clearer state so your next steps do not feel buried under fog. And maybe you are thinking, I have tried things before. I have tried meditation. I have tried healing sounds. I have tried routines. I have tried to fix my focus. I understand that. A lot of people listening to this have tried many things, and disappointment can make you cautious. That is wise. You should not believe everything just because it sounds spiritual. You should test the fruit. You should be sober. You should not move from pressure. But what makes this different is the simplicity of the approach. It is not asking you to sit for hours. It is not asking you to become a different person overnight. It is not asking you to master a complicated system. It is a 7-minute audio ritual designed around the brain's response to sound. And for the chosen one who feels mentally foggy, spiritually sensitive, and tired of fighting through inner static, that simplicity may be exactly why it feels timely. The original price is $49. Right now, through the link provided in the description and pinned comment, it is available for $39. And with it, there are additional bonuses included, such as an audio for children, a classic book connected to prosperity principles, a guided visualization, and a simple infographic with habits for building a better future. There is also a money-back guarantee, which matters because you should not feel trapped by a tool. If it does not feel aligned for you, or if you try it and do not feel it supports you, you should have the ability to step away without fear. And I want to say this with integrity. If $39 would create pressure for you, do not move from fear. Do not buy anything because you feel threatened. Do not make a decision from panic. This message is not about manipulating you. If your spirit feels led to explore the 7-minute recalibration, the link is in the description and pinned comment. If not, continue with the instruction. Continue with prayer. Continue with discernment. Continue with the process God is doing in you. The tool is optional. Obedience is not. Also, be careful where you look for it. There are many copies, imitations, and random audio tracks online that may use similar language but are not the original version with the full materials, bonuses, and guarantee. The safest way to explore it is through the link provided in the description and pinned comment. Do not search randomly and assume every version is the same. If you feel led, use the official path. If you do not feel led, release it with peace. Now, come back to the main point. A clear mind still has to obey. A calm nervous system still has to surrender. A tool can help support focus, but it cannot make the decision for you. The instruction of June 11th still asks something from your spirit. It asks whether you will move when God says move. It asks whether you will stop when God says stop. It asks whether you will release when God says release. It asks whether you will stay silent when silence is protection. It asks whether you will speak when truth can no longer remain buried. It asks whether you will trust the next step even without the entire map. This is where the spiritual window becomes deeply practical, because if God gives you instruction and you do not obey it, the problem is not that he failed to speak. The issue becomes whether you honored what was spoken. And this is the part many people do not want to hear. Sometimes people are not waiting for God's voice. They are waiting for a version of God's voice that agrees with their attachment. They are not waiting for instruction. They are waiting for permission to keep what he already told them to release. They are not waiting for clarity. They are waiting for an instruction that does not require courage. They are not waiting for confirmation. They are waiting for obedience to stop feeling uncomfortable. But chosen one, obedience does not always feel easy. Sometimes it feels clean and painful at the same time. Sometimes it feels peaceful and unfamiliar at the same time. Sometimes it feels right and lonely at the same time. Sometimes it feels like freedom and grief standing in the same room. That does not mean it is wrong. It means you are crossing a threshold, and thresholds require you to leave one place before you fully understand the next. This is why June 11th is not just about hearing, it is about responding. You may hear the instruction to leave a conversation alone. You may hear the instruction to stop checking on someone. You may hear the instruction to prepare for an opportunity. You may hear the instruction to rest instead of forcing. You may hear the instruction to forgive without returning. You may hear the instruction to make the call. You may hear the instruction to finally begin the work you have been delaying. You may hear the instruction to stop giving your energy to things that no longer carry grace. You may hear the instruction to stop asking for signs when the answer has already been given. And when that instruction comes, do not make it heavier than it needs to be. Obey the next clear step, not the whole future. The next clear step, because the next clear step is the doorway to the next level of clarity. God often reveals while you move. He often gives peace while you obey. He often confirms after you release. He often strengthens after you say yes. He often opens the second door after you stop standing in front of the first one. And that is why the instruction may feel small. Small enough for pride to overlook. Small enough for fear to delay. Small enough for other people to underestimate. But if God is in it, small is not small. A seed is small. A key is small. A spark is small. A whisper is small. A yes can be small. But small things can open doors no human strength could force open. Do not despise the small instruction. Do not despise the quiet word. Do not despise the simple step. Do not despise the inner knowing that keeps returning with peace, because this may be the very thing that separates another cycle from a new season. And now you can see why the first two dates had to come before this one. If June 9th did not warn you, you might carry the wrong thing into the instruction. If June 10th did not separate you, you might let the wrong voice interpret the instruction. If the warning did not expose the pattern, and the separation did not clear the room, the instruction might land in a crowded spirit and become distorted. You would hear move, but fear would translate it as danger. You would hear stop, but attachment would translate it as loss. You would hear wait, but impatience would translate it as punishment. You would hear speak, but shame would translate it as pride. You would hear rest, but guilt would translate it as laziness. That is why the room had to be cleared. That is why the old noise had to lose authority. That is why the past had to step back. That is why the receiver had to become still. Because instruction must be heard in truth, not translated by trauma. This is the deeper revelation. These dates are not only about what happens outside of you. They are revealing what is happening inside of you. June 9th reveals whether you can receive correction without collapsing into shame. June 10th reveals whether you can accept separation without chasing what is leaving. June 11th reveals whether you can obey instruction without demanding control. That is the mirror. That is the test. That is the threshold. And once you see it this way, the fear begins to lose its power. Because now you understand that the warning is not there to terrify you. It is there to align you. The separation is not there to empty you. It is there to protect you. The instruction is not there to confuse you. It is there to lead you. And God is not trying to cost you everything. He is trying to keep you from losing what matters most. Your peace, your clarity, your assignment, your sensitivity, your obedience, your future, your ability to hear Him when the next door opens. So as June 11th approaches, do not ask for drama. Ask for discernment. Do not ask for a sign to entertain your fear. Ask for a clear next step. Do not ask God to explain what He has already told you to release. Ask for the courage to obey. Do not ask for everyone to understand. Ask for a heart that remains steady even when they do not. Do not ask for the whole map. Ask for enough light to take the next faithful step. And if all you receive is one word, honor it. If all you receive is one direction, honor it. If all you receive is one boundary, honor it. If all you receive is one release, honor it. If all you receive is one quiet peace, honor it. Because when God gives enough, enough is holy and chosen one. By the time this window completes, some of you will realize that the thing you were most afraid to release was the very thing blocking the instruction you kept asking for. Some of you will realize the closed door was not rejection, it was direction. Some of you will realize the silence was not absence, it was preparation. Some of you will realize the heaviness was not punishment, it was warning. Some of you will realize the separation was not loss, it was protection. Some of you will realize the instruction was not hidden, it was waiting for the noise to leave. And that is why you must not rush past this. This is not only about June 9th, June 10th, and June 11th. It is about the kind of person you are becoming at the threshold. Someone who can be corrected without running. Someone who can release without collapsing. Someone who can obey without controlling. Someone who can hear without needing noise. Someone who can trust the quiet instruction of God more than the loud demands of fear. That is who you are becoming. And this is where the next part of the message becomes necessary. Because now that you understand the warning, the separation, and the instruction, you must understand the greater revelation behind all three. The dates are not the source. They are the mirror. They are revealing your posture. They are showing you whether you are ready to walk into the next season without dragging the old one behind you. And if you can receive that, then the final question is not whether God is speaking. The final question is whether you are ready to respond as the chosen one He has been forming in secret. And if you are ready to respond as the chosen one He has been forming in secret, then you must understand the greater revelation behind these three dates. June 9th, June 10th, and June 11th are not just dates. They are mirrors. They are revealing your posture. They are showing you what happens inside you when God corrects you, separates you, and instructs you. They are showing whether you collapse when correction comes, or whether you return to alignment. They are showing whether you chase what God is removing, or whether you trust His protection. They are showing whether you demand the whole map, or whether you obey the next clear step. That is why this message has carried weight from the beginning. The point was never to make you afraid of a calendar. The point was never to make you worship a date. The point was never to make you live in anxiety, checking every hour like something terrible must happen. No, the point is awareness. The point is discernment. The point is obedience. The point is that God may be using this window to reveal what kind of spiritual posture you are carrying into the next season. Because a new season is not only about what God gives you, it is also about what you are able to carry. A blessing can become heavy in unprepared hands. An open door can become dangerous if you enter with the wrong attachments. A relationship can become confusing if you bring old wounds into new love. A promotion can become pressure if your identity is still built on fear. A calling can become exhausting if you keep giving unauthorized access to people who drain your spirit. And that is why God corrects before He increases. That is why He separates before He instructs. That is why He clears the room before He opens the next door. He is not trying to take your life apart. He is trying to make your life strong enough to hold what is coming. You prayed for the next level, but the next level requires a different posture. You prayed for clarity, but clarity requires you to stop defending confusion. You prayed for peace, but peace requires you to stop giving access to what destroys it. You prayed for direction, but direction requires you to stop demanding that every step feels safe. You prayed for a door, but a door requires movement. You prayed for protection, but protection sometimes arrives as separation. You prayed for God to speak, but sometimes His voice begins by saying, "Stop." And chosen one, that is not cruelty. That is love with wisdom, because God sees the end from the beginning. He sees what your attachment cannot see. He sees what your nostalgia edits out. He sees what your fear exaggerates. He sees what your loneliness tries to excuse. He sees what your future requires. And when He warns you, He is not guessing. When He separates you, He is not confused. When He instructs you, He is not experimenting with your life. He knows what He placed in you. He knows what has been fighting it. He knows what has been draining it. He knows what has been delaying it. He knows what has been quietly pulling your attention away from the assignment. So if He has been pressing on your spirit during this window, do not treat that pressure like a burden only. It may be mercy. It may be the pressure of being awakened before a cycle repeats. It may be the pressure of your future calling you out of an old agreement. It may be the pressure of truth finally becoming louder than fear. It may be the pressure of God saying, "I will not let you walk into what I prepared while carrying what would contaminate it." This is the greater revelation. The dates are not the source. God is the source. The dates are not the power. God is the power. The dates are not the answer. They are the mirror. June 9th asks whether you can receive correction. June 10th asks whether you can accept separation. June 11th asks whether you can obey instruction. And the answer you give is not only spoken with your mouth, it is spoken with your response. It is spoken when you do not reply to the message that would reopen confusion. It is spoken when you stop forcing a door that keeps stealing your peace. It is spoken when you let someone misunderstand you instead of begging for permission to grow. It is spoken when you refuse to call an old pattern harmless because your spirit knows the cost. It is spoken when you stop delaying the simple instruction God has already placed before you. It is spoken when you choose the quiet path of obedience instead of the loud path of emotional reaction. That is how a chosen one responds. Not with panic, not with performance, not with fear, with alignment, with stillness, with truth, with obedience. And if you feel the weight of this, I want you to hear something clearly. You are not behind because God is correcting you. Correction means He is still guiding you. You are not abandoned because God is separating you. Separation means He is still protecting you. You are not confused because God has no instruction. Sometimes confusion simply means the wrong voices have been too loud for too long. But that can change. The room can become quiet. The signal can become clear. The next step can become simple. You do not have to solve your entire life in one day. You do not have to understand every consequence of every decision. You do not have to become fearless before you obey. You do not have to become perfect before you move. You only have to become honest enough to respond to what has already been made clear. And for the next 3 movements, this is how you respond. When the warning comes, do not run from it. Listen to it. Let it show you what has been costing you peace. Let it show you where you have been compromising. Let it show you where fear has been wearing the mask of wisdom. Let it show you where you have been calling delay patience. Let it show you where your spirit keeps saying no, while your emotions keep trying to say yes. Do not argue with the warning. Do not shame yourself because of the warning. Do not panic because of the warning. Receive it as mercy. Receive it as God interrupting a pattern before it becomes another season. Receive it as protection arriving before loss. Receive it as the hand of God touching the place that needs to come back into alignment. When the separation comes, do not chase what is leaving. Do not build an altar to the closed door. Do not let grief convince you that release was a mistake. Do not let nostalgia edit the story. Do not let loneliness rewrite the pattern. Do not let the old version of you pull you back into a place God already led you out of. Let the separation work. Let the old access close. Let the old identity rest. Let the old room lose authority. Let the small dream become seed for a greater one. Let the need to be understood bow before the need to obey. Let the silence become holy. Let the empty space stay empty long enough for God to fill it with instruction. And when the instruction comes, do not despise it because it is simple. Do not reject it because it does not explain everything. Do not delay it because it requires courage. Do not ask for another sign when the instruction is already clear. Do not confuse discomfort with danger. Do not confuse peace with passivity. Do not confuse simplicity with insignificance. The next clear step may be small, but it may carry the weight of your next season. The next clear step may be quiet, but it may close a cycle that has followed you for years. The next clear step may not impress anyone, but it may protect everything God is preparing. So obey the next clear step, not the whole map. The next clear step, that is enough. And if you need a simple way to carry these 3 days in your spirit, carry them like this. On June 9th, ask God, what are you warning me to stop? Do not ask with fear. Ask with honesty. Let your spirit become still enough to recognize what has been draining your peace. Let the answer rise without forcing it. It may be a habit. It may be a conversation. It may be a delay. It may be a compromise. It may be a door you keep checking. It may be a false peace. It may be a fear you keep calling wisdom. When the answer rises, do not attack yourself. Simply agree with truth. Say within yourself, I receive correction without shame. That is the posture of June 9th. I receive correction without shame. On June 10th, ask God, what cannot go with me? Again, do not ask with panic. Ask with surrender. Let your spirit recognize what becomes too heavy at the threshold. It may be a person's access. It may be an old identity. It may be a place. It may be a small dream. It may be the need to explain. It may be the fear of being misunderstood. It may be the emotional agreement that says you must keep abandoning yourself to keep connection. When the answer rises, do not chase what God is separating. Do not call release rejection. Do not call protection loss. Say within yourself, I release what cannot go with God. That is the posture of June 10th. I release what cannot go with God. On June 11th, ask God, what is the next obedient step? Not the whole future, not the full explanation, not the complete strategy, just the next obedient step. Maybe the step is stop. Maybe the step is wait. Maybe the step is move. Maybe the step is speak. Maybe the step is stay silent. Maybe the step is prepare. Maybe the step is forgive without returning. Maybe the step is begin again. Maybe the step is rest. Maybe the step is protect your peace. When the answer rises with sober clarity, honor it. Do not make it heavier than it needs to be. Do not let fear argue with it for hours. Do not demand that everyone understand it before you obey it. Say within yourself, I will obey the next clear step. That is the posture of June 11th. I will obey the next clear step. If one of those sentences feels like it belongs to you, place it in the comments as a quiet declaration. I receive correction without shame. I release what cannot go with God. I will obey the next clear step. Choose the one that your spirit needs most. Not for attention, not for performance, not because a comment has power by itself, but because sometimes saying a simple sentence creates a line in the sand inside you. Sometimes your own words help your spirit stop negotiating. Sometimes a clear declaration becomes the first act of alignment. And now, I want to guide you through this inwardly. You do not need to move your body. You do not need to close your eyes if you are not able to. You do not need to stop what you are doing. Just let your imagination become a sacred room for a moment. See yourself standing before a quiet gate. This gate is not locked against you. It is waiting for you to arrive without the weight that cannot pass through it. There is no crowd around you. No one is pressuring you. No one is demanding an explanation. No one is asking you to perform. It is just you, the gate, and the presence of God. On the left side of the gate, you see the weight of what must stop. The repeated cycle, the false peace, the old conversation, the fear disguised as wisdom, the habit that dulls your spirit, the delay that keeps calling itself patience. Do not grab it. Do not fight it. Just recognize it. Let the presence of God name it without shame. Now, let that weight fall from your agreement. Not from your memory, from your agreement. It no longer has permission to lead you. It no longer has permission to interpret your future. It no longer has permission to steal your peace and call it normal. Now, on the right side of the gate, you see what cannot go with you. Maybe it is access. Maybe it is guilt. Maybe it is the need to be understood. Maybe it is a person you love but cannot keep carrying. Maybe it is a version of yourself that survived the wilderness but cannot lead the promise. Maybe it is the small dream that made you feel safe but kept you hidden. Do not throw it in anger. Do not curse it. Do not make a performance out of letting go. Just set it down. Set it down with truth. Set it down with trembling hands if you must. Set it down with tears if they come. Set it down with gratitude for what it taught you and surrender for where it cannot go. Let the gate remain before you. Now listen for the smallest instruction. Not a speech, not a map, not 1,000 details. One step, a quiet word, a steady direction, a holy simplicity. Stop, wait, move, release, prepare, speak, stay silent, begin, rest, choose peace. Let the word that carries peace become enough for now. Let it settle like a seed inside your spirit. Do not dig it up with anxiety. Do not drown it with analysis. Do not hand it to people who will not honor the soil it came from. Let it remain. Let it be guarded. Let it become the beginning of obedience. And as you stand before that gate, hear this. You are not being asked to drag the old season through the new door. You are not being asked to prove your worth to people who only understand your wounds. You are not being asked to explain every hidden instruction before you obey. You are not being asked to carry what God has separated. You are not being asked to keep bleeding in places where He has already healed you. You are being invited to cross differently, lighter, clearer, quieter, wiser, more surrendered, more honest, more aligned, more obedient. This is why the warning came first. This is why the separation came second. This is why the instruction comes now. The warning protected your peace. The separation cleared your spirit. The instruction opens the next step. And the next step may not look like much from the outside. But heaven does not measure obedience by how dramatic it appears. Heaven measures obedience by whether it is faithful. A quiet no can be faithful. A private release can be faithful. A hidden boundary can be faithful. A decision not to return can be faithful. A decision to begin again can be faithful. A decision to rest instead of force can be faithful. A decision to stop explaining can be faithful. A decision to obey what only God knows He told you can be faithful. Do not underestimate the holy weight of quiet obedience. Many lives are changed in moments no one sees. Many cycles are broken without an audience. Many doors open because someone finally stopped touching the wrong one. Many assignments begin when someone finally stopped waiting for permission from people who were never assigned to understand. This is your moment to stop needing the world to validate what God is doing in secret. If He is correcting you, receive it. If he is separating you, trust him. If he is instructing you, obey. That is the whole posture. Receive, release, obey. Receive correction, release what cannot go, obey the next clear step. Receive, release, obey. Do not make it more complicated than God made it. Fear complicates. Guilt complicates. Attachment complicates. Old wounds complicate. Control complicates. But the voice of God often brings you back to holy simplicity. Receive, release, obey. And when you live from that posture, the cost of ignoring these dates begins to lose its power over you. Because now you are no longer ignoring. You are listening. You are no longer drifting. You are discerning. You are no longer negotiating with the old pattern. You are returning to alignment. You are no longer asking God to bless what he is correcting. You are letting him correct it. You are no longer asking God to explain why he is separating. You are trusting that he sees what you cannot see. You are no longer asking for the whole future. You are honoring the next step. That is maturity. That is spiritual sobriety. That is the posture of a chosen one who has been formed in hidden places. Not loud, not frantic, not desperate, steady. You are becoming steady. And that steadiness is a sign of healing. Because the old you may have needed panic to feel awake. The old you may have needed chaos to feel connected. The old you may have needed explanation to feel safe. The old you may have needed control to feel prepared. The old you may have needed everyone's agreement before obeying. But the formed you is different. The formed, you can receive correction without collapsing. The formed you can release without chasing. The formed you can obey without seeing everything. The formed you can be misunderstood without abandoning the instruction. The formed you can walk away without hatred. The formed you can stay silent without resentment. The formed you can speak truth without needing revenge. The formed you can trust God with what does not make sense yet. That is what has been built in you, not overnight, not easily, not without tears, but faithfully. Through every season where you thought nothing was happening, something was forming. Through every delay, discernment was forming. Through every closed door, humility was forming. Through every betrayal, wisdom was forming. Through every lonely season, depth was forming. Through every unanswered question, trust was forming. Through every time you wanted to give up but did not, endurance was forming. Through every silent prayer, sensitivity was forming. Through every hidden surrender, obedience was forming. And now, the person formed in secret is being asked to respond. Not the frightened version, not the wounded version, not the version that needs to be chosen by people, not the version that keeps returning to old cycles for comfort. The formed one, the one God has been shaping beneath the surface, the one who can hear the warning and not panic, the one who can face separation and not chase, the one who can receive instruction and not demand control. That is who you are becoming. And if no one else sees it yet, God sees it. He saw the nights you cried quietly. He saw the moments you almost went back but chose not to. He saw the words you swallowed because responding would have pulled you into another cycle. He saw the times you gave grace when no one gave it to you. He saw the times you kept showing up while feeling unseen. He saw the times you prayed with no evidence. He saw the times you obeyed while trembling. He saw the times you released what your heart still wanted because your spirit knew it was not right. None of that was wasted. Not one tear, not one quiet act of obedience, not one hidden surrender, not one moment of restraint, not one season of preparation. All of it has been forming the posture you need now. So do not call yourself late. Do not call yourself forgotten. Do not call yourself weak because the process hurt. Do not call yourself confused because you had to learn discernment through pain. Do not call yourself behind because God took longer to form you. Some things that take longer last longer. Some foundations must be deep because the structure will be high. Some roots must go down in hidden places before the tree can survive visible storms. Some people are kept quiet longer because what they carry must not be exposed before it is mature. That may be you, and if it is, then these dates are not here to tell you that you are about to lose everything. They are here to tell you that God is protecting what you cannot afford to lose: your peace, your calling, your clarity, your obedience, your spiritual sensitivity, your future, your capacity to hear Him when it matters. That is what is being protected. And this is why the warning must not be ignored. Because when peace is ignored long enough, confusion becomes normal. When conviction is ignored long enough, compromise becomes familiar. When separation is resisted long enough, bondage begins to look like loyalty. When instruction is delayed long enough, fear begins to call itself wisdom. That is the cost. But it does not have to be your cost. Not if you listen. Not if you return. Not if you receive. Not if you release. Not if you obey. So let the fear leave this message now. Let the panic leave. Let the obsession with dates leave. Let the superstition leave. Let the pressure to predict every detail leave. Let the need to know everything leave. Keep the discernment. Keep the sobriety. Keep the reverence. Keep the alignment. Keep the instruction. Keep the peace. The date is not your master. God is your guide. The warning is not your prison. It is your protection. The separation is not your destruction. It is your clearing. The instruction is not your burden. It is your path. And now, I want to speak a blessing over you. Receive only what bears witness with peace. Release anything that feels like fear, manipulation, or panic. This is a blessing of alignment, not anxiety. May God give you the courage to receive correction without shame. May He show you what must stop, and may He show it with such clarity that confusion loses its voice. May He expose every pattern that has been draining your peace while pretending to protect you. May He reveal every false peace, every delayed obedience, every old door, every fear disguised as wisdom, and every attachment that has been quietly taking more from you than it was ever meant to take. And may you not collapse when He corrects you. May you return. May you return with humility. May you return with honesty. May you return without self-hatred. May you return knowing that correction is not rejection, and conviction is not condemnation. May God give you the strength to accept separation without chasing what is leaving. May He separate you from relationships that require your brokenness to remain comfortable. May He separate you from environments that suffocate your calling. May He separate you from old identities that helped you survive but cannot help you become. May He separate you from small dreams that fear built to keep you hidden. May He separate you from the need to be understood by people who were never assigned to carry the weight of your obedience. And may you not call separation abandonment. May you not call release failure. May you not call protection loss. May you not chase what God removes. May you not keep standing at a closed door as though your future died there. May God give you the clarity to receive instruction without demanding the whole map. May your inner receiver become still. May the static quiet down. May the old voices step back. May guilt lose authority. May fear lose authority. May nostalgia lose authority. May pressure lose authority. May the voice of God become clearer than the noise of survival. May you know when to stop. May you know when to move. May you know when to wait. May you know when to speak. May you know when to stay silent. May you know when to prepare. May you know when to rest. May you know when to release. And when the next clear step comes, may you obey it without needing everyone to understand. May your peace be guarded. May your calling be guarded. May your mind be guarded. May your relationships be purified. May your timing be protected. May your provision be aligned. May your heart be made steady. May your sensitivity become a gift again, not a burden. May your discernment become sharper without making you suspicious of everything. May your love become deeper without making you available to everything. May your obedience become stronger without making you harsh. May your silence become peaceful, not resentful. May your voice become truthful, not reactive. May your boundaries become clean, not bitter. May your next step be covered. And may you hear the Father saying in the quiet place of your spirit, I will not let you miss what I have prepared, if you will listen. Receive that, not as pressure, as peace. I will not let you miss what I have prepared, if you will listen. So listen. Listen when peace speaks. Listen when conviction rises. Listen when the old door no longer feels right. Listen when the repeated pattern reveals itself. Listen when the separation hurts but still carries peace. Listen when the next step is simple. Listen when God says, stop. Listen when God says, wait. Listen when God says, move. Listen when God says, release. Listen when God says, trust me with what you cannot yet understand. Because the chosen one who listens will not be led by panic. The chosen one who listens will not be ruled by old cycles. The chosen one who listens will not keep mistaking chaos for confirmation. The chosen one who listens will not keep sacrificing peace for access. The chosen one who listens will not keep asking for clarity while defending confusion. The chosen one who listens will receive correction, accept separation, and obey instruction. That is the way through. That is the path of protection. That is the meaning of this window. June 9th. Correction, June 10th. Separation, June 11th. Instruction, not fear. Formation, not superstition. Alignment, not punishment. Protection, carry that with you. And when these dates pass, do not forget the posture. Because the date may pass, but the posture must remain. A life of correction without shame. A life of release without chasing. A life of obedience without control. That is how you move forward. That is how you protect the next season. That is how you stop paying the cost of old cycles. That is how you enter the doorway without dragging the wilderness behind you. And if this message has spoken to the exact place you are standing in right now, do not let it disappear into the noise of the day. Choose one sentence and let it become your marker. I receive correction without shame. I release what cannot go with God. I will obey the next clear step. Place the one that belongs to you in the comments. Not because anyone else needs to understand it, because your spirit needs to hear you agree with truth. And if the 7-minute recalibration I mentioned earlier resonated with you, if you feel led to explore a tool that may help support focus and quiet the mental static, the link is in the description and pinned comment. Move only from peace, not pressure. Not fear, not panic. If it is for you, you will feel the witness. If it is not, release it and continue in obedience. The tool is optional. The posture is necessary. Receive, release, obey. That is the message. That is the protection. That is the way forward. Chosen one, you are not being warned because you are doomed. You are being warned because you are loved. You are not being separated because you are abandoned. You are being separated because you are set apart. You are not being instructed because God wants to control you. You are being instructed because He is leading you into what your old life could not carry. So walk forward with peace. Let the warning become wisdom. Let the separation become freedom. Let the instruction become your next step. And let this be the moment you stop ignoring what God has been trying to tell you. June 9th, June 10th, and June 11th are not here to make you afraid. They are here to wake you up. They are here to bring you back. They are here to help you cross the threshold with clean hands, a steady heart, and a spirit that is finally ready to listen. And if you listen, you will not lose what matters. You will protect it. You will guard it. You will carry it differently. You will walk into the next season lighter than you entered this one. You will understand why the warning came. You will understand why the separation hurt. You will understand why the instruction was simple. And one day, you may look back and realize that what felt like a warning was actually mercy standing at the door of your future, saying, not that way, chosen one. This way. Walk this way.